Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, JMels24, Unimento, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Hello, Neil.
How's it going? How's everything?
Yeah, all right, I'm just setting up.
Hey, if push came to shove and somebody's trying to send me money, you think they could send it to you when you can PayPal it to me?
I don't see why not.
Thank you very much. Hello? Discord.
Nobody in there.
How's everything going with your pops? He's got everything well accomplished?
What do you mean accomplished? He's dead.
Yeah, I'm saying as far as funeral, you do all of that in the UK?
No, we just leave them where they are, Neil.
Well, sometimes a lot of people do the old Jewish way, just for one day and that's it.
Yeah, it's all been arranged. It'll be next week sometime. Or the week after. Depends how busy the funeral parlour is.
You know, the funny thing with that is I didn't think I would feel it with my father. But as it went on and on, it starts to weigh on you, you know? Still to this day. You never get over it. You just there, you know? Adam.
What's up?
Spy. I might as well do that since everybody
Can't deny
accuses
that.
me of, I might as well do that since everybody accuses me and everybody else here of being a Nathan parrot.
It's hard to parrot gas-filled space.
No, it's like, wouldn't you parrot to win an argument? Not even an argument, just a winning point.
I saw a bunch of Bevites over at Flatzoids the other day. It was pretty pathetic.
Yeah, exactly. You want me to not echo a winning point? Okay. Yeah, it's just games people play. And it's kind of sad because you think, you know, if you go back to 2015, 2016, you're looking for that silver bullet, right? Got a bunch of globe debunkings all over the place, gas pressure out containment, this, that, the other thing, but no silver bullet. You get the silver bullet, and everybody says no, they don't want to use it, including flat earthers.
No,
It's
those
not
are
the ground.
the people you're talking about. Are the people who've been corralled into a little group by a load of shills.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, well, she'll speak on their behalf and say we don't want that argument. What, the one that isn't an argument that just declares the Earth as it is measured? You don't want that? Yes, because you're not here for that. You're not here for Earth being flat. None of them ever were.
That's true, but I'm talking about the influence they have over regular people in chat. So yeah, they're all corralled. Yeah, and they got a voice, and people rather listen to them than deal with measurements. So it's something in that person. They want the globe, Nathan.
Yeah, well, I can have it. I don't care. Have it. I don't care.
Yeah, that's fine. Then leave us alone. Then go have your globe. What are you doing here?
Yeah, they've got to constantly remind themselves that they were right because we're still here. So they kid themselves that after TFE, that'd be it, right? That proves they're on a ball. Well, okay. So why are you still here then? Surely if it's a done deal, you can get on with your day then. But no, you're still reacting to us flat earthers. Why are we still here? Well, we, as in us personally, us now, this group here, are here because we know Earth's measured flat. Now, consciously or unconsciously, so does everybody else. Everyone's aware of that if they ever deal with Earth in any way, shape or form. It's just that on a different level, cognitively dissonantly speaking, they're going to think they're on a ball at the same time as measuring Earth flat. Now, we appreciate that the one is incongruent with the other, so therefore we understand that the only one you can really go with is the measurement. Now, obviously, not having a cognitive dissonance regards a ball that you're not on means that we are deserving of ridicule by these people because they suddenly fear that which they cannot prove when we don't believe with them what they believe.
Yeah, basically, we don't believe anything at all. We just have measurements, and when you measure something, you know what it is. It's not a belief anymore. Takes the belief right out of it.
Yeah.
Coming back. But yeah, I understand that they want it. It makes it easier and it makes it so that you can, let go and let other people decide what to do with the world for you.
See, the one thing I don't get is a lot of people say, I can't enjoy my space movies anymore. Why not? I watch them all the time. I was just watching Predator the other day. It's a new version of Predator. It's a show called Prey, and it takes it back into the 1700s America with some Indian tribe. It was great, but the Predator came from outer space. So what?
It
And
was
I
pretty
hear
good.
Spaceballs is coming out too. Spaceballs too. That's what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
It's funny how they do that vacuum in space in those movies like in Infinity War when they freaking Iron Man blows a hole out and sucks that freaking Thanos, his main guy, out, and then he welds it up real fast.
Well, it had to happen for the movie to happen.
Yeah, but that Hollywood really plays on that. Um, what's that? What do they call it? The what's that?
Suspension of belief.
No, that. But what do they call it when they're in
Suspension of belief.
No, I know that, but what do they call it in the movies when they're alternate universes or something like that? They really, they really play on that.
Oh, multiverse.
Yeah, multiverse, especially the Spider-Man one, the one Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. He's like, "Oh, it's all real, string theory," and he goes through all of these nonsenses because now he's in the multiverse. So, like these movies, like bring it to life, and people actually believe it.
Yeah, it hasn't changed even in 100 years or so. We're just kind of looking at TV and going, "Oh, oh."
Hey, how about have you heard this one? From when I was a kid, I heard that in the universe, somewhere in the universe, there's a duplicate of you. And the same thing that's going on here is going on there, but everything's on the opposite side. So your heart is all the way on your right side. And, everything is switched around.
Yeah, heard things like that.
Back in the 70s, they always had these things happening. Like when I was growing up, it was like, oh, did you hear? Rod Stewart had 14 ounces of male sperm pumped out of his body. He collapsed on stage. That was all over the place. Where did that rumor come from?
Ex-girlfriend? When I was a kid, we had Marilyn Manson have his rib removed so that he could fillet himself.
Clear on this channel, we all love CC Chris from New York, Westchester County. One of the most incredulous men on the planet, yet we all seem to be drawn to him like a wasp to a summer picnic.
Like a wasp to low-hanging fruit.
So, in order to keep you all happy, we are once again taking a visit to Westchester County.
So keep everyone happy. Who's everyone?
And this time, CC is going off on the weather. And
Really? I mean, where he goes off on the weather, I go off on how Dan uses flat earth measurements in this video. Got a response from him. Yeah. Outer space is fake. You can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Are the clouds going down, with respect to a plane, at 9.8 meters per second squared? Yeah? I've time-stamped it. Dan says, in response, saying it doesn't make it true, Nathan. Saying it was a question, Dan. Are the clouds going down? So I don't really understand your response, Don. It seems non sequitur. Atmospheric pressure is not the same as gas pressure. Really? Atmo? That means air. Atmo is gas, Dan. Sphere is a shape. It's an oxymoron. Also, it seems you don't know how clouds work. I didn't suggest, did I? Asked you, the one making the positive assertion about gravity with respect to the clouds, and whether or not they go down at 9.8 meters per second. It was a question, Dan. Yeah?
So
I
wait,
am not
Nathan-
making any positive assertions about clouds, Dan. It seems like you're retarded and don't understand a question when you see one. You don't seem to be making any positive claim about what I have asserted as a positive claim either. You're just suggesting that I don't understand what I'm claiming. I'm not making any claims. You are. You suggested that the clouds were going down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash with gravity, get down. We'll have a listen, shall we? There's another one I'll put in here too.
Hold
Didn't
on,
seem to get a
before you do
response.
that, what is he saying?
Can you hear me talking? Can you hear me talking? Can you hear me? Yeah, you'll know when I've stopped because you'll hear a freaking pause. Yeah? You haven't heard that pause yet? Thanks. There's another one. Different angles. We'll zip straight to this one. Yeah? Earth being measured flat with elevation angle measurements by everyone. Yeah? As per the video, we'll have a little listen.
Stick your neck out. Take that ferry. Go clubbing in a stone.
Wonderful.
One thing is clear on this channel, we all love CC Chris from New York, Westchester County. Vastly different angles, and it would appear to shrink and grow throughout the day. But
Hey, what was that? Measuring vastly different angles? Like two straight lines meeting at a vertex, Dan?
Around our flat land, and then when it gets longer and bigger, that means we get into a warmer weather. Okay, that's all it is. Okay,
if the sun really were moving in a circle 3,000 miles above us, everyone
He didn't make that claim, by the way. He didn't say that. Dan's inserted this shit because he's a straw man using asshole.
on Earth would see it at vastly different angles.
Angles, Dan, will require a flat plane of reference. You said it, I responded to it. I noticed beyond the "you don't understand clouds" response that Dan gave, he didn't seem to reply to this one. Different angles, Dan. You are measuring Earth flat, Dan, with those different angles. You see it here, Dan? Yeah? I time-stamped it. It came out of your mouth. A bit like you and your reference frames have been ruined, end quote, Dan. Quote, SciManDan. Vastly different angles. Dan measures Earth flat. He's talking about the measurement of elevation angles. So, Dan, you globe-believing cuck, who's this CC dude? Is he quotable, like you and your reference frames are ruined type quotable? Or is he just that low-hanging fruit that you seem to want to attack? I'm calling you out as a user of flat Earth measurements. I'll trim out this clip, minus the interruption from Neil, very irritating, and point out that Dan measures Earth flat, specifically with elevation angles. These, quote, vastly different angles. They're not curves meeting at a vertex. One line along the ground, straight, and one line up to a star, or in this case, the sun. That is what an elevation angle measurement is. And it unequivocally requires Earth be measured flat. Now, Dan here, going after the low-hanging fruit that is CC, is a coward. A coward who lives in perpetual fear of the fact he requires Earth be measured flat with these, quote, vastly different angles that we measure on Earth. Dan's a flat earther. He measures Earth flat. Go ahead, Neil.
I don't know where you're getting I interrupted. I didn't say a freaking word. You're going to piss me right off. I had a question about the first video, but if you're going to go into something where you need to, just say it. Holy shit, forget it. It's over. Continue.
Yeah, thanks.
And it would appear to shrink and grow throughout the day. But we don't see that. We see a consistent 0.5 degree angular size.
Yeah, you're going to need a flat earth for these angular size measurements, Dan. Yeah, you're describing things with respects to planes of reference.
Wherever we are. And of course, the sun appears lower in the sky during the Northern Hemisphere winter because
Right, your hemispherical assumption is a derivation of flat Earth elevation angles to stars extrapolated out into north and south hemisphere. North being a flat Earth direction, south being a flat Earth direction. Hemispheres being a derivation of flat Earth elevation angles to stars. So, Dan, why is it that you, a clear and obvious flat earther, keep utilising these flat Earth tools and flat Earth measurements of stars? Hemispheres? You've derived those from flat Earth angle measurements to the stars, Dan.
because of Earth's axial tilt, not the sun.
Right, the axial tilt is also described with respect to a plane of reference. Talking about a degree that's also described off a flat plane.
Sun moving closer or further away in a circle. That spotlight model offers no mechanical explanations as to why the sun would do that.
Another straw man burned by SciManDan. That wasn't mentioned by CC. No model even got mentioned. Of course, Dan needs to not only go for the lowest of low-hanging fruit, but burn straw men whilst doing it. Dan, you're a coward. A coward that's being proven a flat earther. So I'll put this out as a video. Dan is a flat earther. He measures Earth flat with elevation angles. These are facts.
The sun is basically local, as I've always said.
Why are you saying that? You don't know that.
Meet Vixer, the smart new gadget that plugs into your car and tracks your vehicle health.
Yeah, fibre optic broadband, but if I'm covering SciManDan, you can bet I've got the whirly whirl. Absolutely no issues all day until I'm covering Dan on my recorded show. Now I've got a whirly whirl. 100 gig up, 100 gig down.
One thing is clear on this channel, we all love CC Chris from New York, Westchester County. One of the most incredible first place.
So gravity is holding on to nothing, clouds. So they're not flying off into space, right? And well, they should. I don't understand why they're not. Why isn't it? Oh, it's because of pressure. That's a cool idea. You're right. You're absolutely right. It is pressure. I'm going to agree with you 100%. Even though not a scientist knows what gravity is. They have no idea. But they know what pressure is, right? But we all know what contains pressure, a cover. That is the only way you can have air pressure, is being contained.
Unless, of course, you've got a massive atmosphere around a massive planet.
Sorry, unless you've got oxymoronic sphere-shaped air. No, you don't have sphere-shaped air. That's an oxymoron. Yeah, like, let's have a little read of your response to me, Dan. Yeah, let's have another little read. Saying it doesn't make it true, Nathan. Atmospheric pressure is not the same as gas pressure. Well, atmo means air, sphere is a shape, making it an oxymoron, and both of them are describing gases at pressure. But they're not, they're different, are they, Dan? Okay, well, you can believe that all you like, Dan. Meanwhile, we have laws of nature like the second law of thermodynamics describing entropic dispersion in terms of how gas behaves. Now, Dan isn't addressing what's been stated by CC. He made it clear that you require containment. Dan is simply asserting that air takes the shape of a sphere because atmosphere. That's his rebuttal. All right, unless you've got my begging the question globe and air that doesn't fill spaces. That's a straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation, Dan.
That literally causes pressure because of the weight of itself.
I see. So weight being a downward vector with respect to a horizontal plane is the reason the gases aren't flying off into the sky vacuum we don't have. So therefore, the clouds are going down because of their weight. Right, Dan? Clouds going down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash. Have you ever looked at a cloud, Dan? Is it going down? Do you understand how the water cycle works? This is something you were taught in second grade at high school. Dan is a clown. The gases, in respect to these clouds, Dan, they're not going down at 9.8 metres per second. They're not going down at all. They're up, Dan. Click your stupid, retarded head in the direction of the sky. Now tell me that those clouds are there because they're going down at 9.8 metres per second with gravity. Oh, right. So they came out of the ground and went which way from the puddles? Down? You see, Dan is a spastic who didn't listen at school to how the water cycle works. So I'm going to educate this spastic. Gases, in the case of water vapour, aren't going down, you fucking retard. Were you dropped on your spastic head by your parents, retard? Gases that form the clouds are going up, you fucking retard. Do you hear me, spastic man Dan? Are you telling your fucking audience that the clouds are going down with their fucking weight? They're up in the sky, you abject spastic dropped on his fucking head.
No swearing.
Doesn't happen any other way, guys. Okay? The radiation belt doesn't create anything like that. The radiation belt is the dome over the flat land.
Why is this guy making this claim?
Oh my God. Really?
Is this the guy in our chat, right?
No, that's Christian Zekas. It's not the same guy.
I've been trying to
Our
establish
chat-
that for about a frickin' month and a half. My God, every time I get told that it is the same guy. So who is this twat? Who is this
What did
twat?
this guy just say his name is? Christian Watt from Westchester.
CC, this guy is. I have no idea who CC is.
Okay, our CC is Christian Zekas, and I'll find out for sure.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Right, meanwhile, Dan's retarded. Yeah, he's just thick as shit, isn't he? Yeah? You think clouds are going down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash down? Is that what you think? What's going on? Right, I'm clicking on the frickin' timeline.
But they know what pressure is, right? But we all know what contains pressure, a cover.
A container. A container contains. Yeah, that's how you form pressure. Meanwhile, Dan's saying the clouds are going down with their weight.
That is the only way you can have air pressure, is being contained.
Unless, of course, you've got a massive atmosphere around a massive planet that literally causes pressure because of the weight of itself.
So the weight of the clouds going down, yeah, is causing the pressure. So in a giant begging the question fallacy of if I've got my automatic assumption of a ball and its apologetics for everything going down at 9.8 metres per second with respect to a horizontal plane of reference to describe down with respect to, then the clouds are going down. No, Dan, you're just stupid. Clouds are not going down. You can't weigh a cloud. You can't put it on a scale. It's not going down. They're up. Are you as dumb as... Who's the Scottish guy? Dell. Never mind the clouds when I point out they're not going down. Now, SciManDan is basically just as stupid as the flat earth numpty we call Dell. Because he's suggesting that the weight in the form of a 9.8 metres per second vector downwards with respect to a plane is the reason the clouds don't vacate into an area of volume in line with the second law of thermodynamics. That's entropic dispersion laws. No, Dan. This is stupid. Gas fills space. It's a law of nature. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. Meanwhile, suggesting that the weight of the clouds, when they go up from the ground, they're not going down. They're not going down at 9.8 meters per second. They're going up. Thick. Dan's just stupid.
How do you describe space to be arguing about whether it exists or what's happening in it?
You just beg the question, oh, well, because we've got a giant planet and everything's going down towards it. Well, that's, number one, begging the question. Number two, you can't go down with respect to a sphere. You can only go in with respect to a sphere. And 9.8 meters per second of downward vector isn't going to help you, and the clouds are going up. It's just a retard who doesn't understand gas cycles. You're like, hello, Dan, did you not manage to listen during second grade? Did you not look at the direction of the gases in the water cycle? Did you think they were going down with gravity? What a clown. Just thick, dropped on his bleeding head by his parents. Spastic. Gases aren't going down, spastic.
Isn't space length, width, and height?
Yeah.
Ballers can't have that no more.
Okay, well, that wasn't exactly the start I was hoping for. Good to have you all. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
I would hope any response given would not use linear feet.
Why not?
Well, linear feet is a straight line, and that's a distance with respect to a plane of reference.
Earth is measured flat with feet, with meters, with kilometers, with miles, with hectares. Earth is measured flat with these linear distance measurements. These linear areas with respect to a plane of reference describing the Earth being measured. Earth is measured flat for everyone, always, without exception. This is not just limited to linear distances horizontally, this is also applicable to height. Any height, that's altitude, will always and without exception be described with respect to a flat Earth. Height can only be a measurement of a flat Earth. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
This object is not a line.
Or, so to put it another way, elevation angle measurements are a flat Earth prerequisite. Also, chocolate.
Yeah,
Let's,
definitely. And
Let's
even in their little programs and their systems, when they put it in and try to measure a curve, it literally tells them in this way, this object is not a line.
but when we
Access denied.
when we measure altitude angles, they have a definition. I've got about 20 of them. I'll just read off one definition of an altitude angle, sometimes referred to as, quote, solar elevation angle. Describes how high the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. End quote. Sustainable by design. That is the definition of an altitude angle. I'll just read the bit that's being measured again. Quote, the angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. So to measure a elevation angle, it is a prerequisite part of the bleeding definition that you'll be standing on a horizontal plane in order to measure it, as it is quite literally part of that angle measurement. An angle, by definition, is two straight lines. In this instance, one of those straight lines is, quote, the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. Now, with that in mind, we've got a new flat earther. His name is SciManDan. He measures Earth as a horizontal plane and points out the differences people would have with those flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements when responding to this CC guy.
Really were moving in a circle 3,000 miles above us, everyone on Earth would see it at vastly different angles. And
So those vastly different angles we would see are a flat Earth measurement. Dan understands that we will be measuring elevation angles. He mentions TFE. Now, bearing in mind that Dan is here in this video responding to the lowest hanging of all fruit that there is available to him, and is mentioning the final experiment, you'd think he might have noticed that somebody got a mention down, quote, down, with respect to a plane, in Antarctica, south, a flat Earth direction. And that was me. My name was screamed into the snow when describing measurement of, guess what? Angles. Toon measured angles to Dan. And upon having them pointed out to him for, I kid you not, the 100th time in Antarctica, he hung the phone upon me and said, I quote, he tried to deflect with measurements, end quote, Michael Toon. Now, Dan here's talking about the exact same measurements that I told Toon he measured Earth flat with. That would be elevation angle measurements of the sun. The same angles Dan's referring to here. Now, maybe Dan was just too stupid, having been dropped on his frickin' head by his mother, to notice that the measurements being made in Antarctica were elevation angles as described by him here. And that as a consequence of those measurements that, quote, he tried to deflect with, end quote, McToon, there is a flat Earth prerequisite being utilised by all concerned. Not just Dan and Toon. So we'll make this number one for Dan. Toon got up to 100. I wonder how many we'll get up to with Dan. But we'll call the unresponded message time-stamped with Dan's, quote, different angles being completely ignored by Dan. We'll call this number one. Yo, Dan, you are measuring Earth flat. May I define those angles? End quote you. That we'll be measuring. The altitude angle, sometimes referred to as solar elevation angle, describes how high the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. End quote. Sustainable by design. Altitude angle, Dan. The same angle you're talking about. That's 1. Toon got to 100. Let's see how far Dan gets in this tete-a-tete with Nathan Oakley, who definitely isn't this low-hanging fruit that Dan likes to respond to. I'm the one right up in your face telling you and everybody else, Dan, measure Earth flat, in this case with elevation angles. So it is my greatest of pleasure to invite you all to Dan to let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, just to let you know you measure Earth flat, Dan, with elevation angles as defined by Nathan Oakley. There's only one type of angle, Dan. It definitely doesn't curve. They're straight lines meeting at a vertex, my friend. And if we're describing the elevation angle of anything ever, it requires a horizontal plane for you to be standing on. And while I appreciate I've gone through this same point multiple times, we'll call this 1. Yeah? The same 1 I'd accounted for Toon. He got to 100. Let me know in the comments how many times you think I'll have to tell SciManDan he measures Earth flat with these, quote, different angles. Right, Dan? Let him know. There's a link to Dan's video. Flat Earther rants about things he doesn't understand. Do you understand what an elevation angle is, Dan? Because I'm going to be the one educating you for as many times as it takes until you, like Toon, scream my name into the Antarctic snow. Quote, he tried to deflect with measurements. What's going to be your excuse, Dan? Am I deflecting here when I define the angles you use, Dan? Am I deflecting? Is Toon right? Maybe I'm just a really big fan of SciManDan, because that was your last response to your stuttery, you and your reference frames have been ruined. That is a verbatim quote from stuttery SciManDan. No, I'm not a big fan of Dan. I'm a big fan of elevation angle measurements, though. So's Toon. Yeah? He loved hearing about them so much he had to hear them 100 times. Yeah, the ones he measured, that is. He heard about them 100 times, Dan. You've heard about them once. We'll be counting them off from here on forward. Oh, just by the way, Dan, you asked Jaren whether or not you get under our skin. 1. Earth's measured flat with elevation angles. Maybe ask me how much you get under my skin, son. That'd be none. Meanwhile, you prove Earth's flat, Dan, with your elevation angle measurements that would be so different on a flat Earth. They'd have to be on a flat Earth, Dan, and we all use them. They're defined as requiring a horizontal plane to be standing on. Just so you know, you're not unique. Everybody measures Earth flat always. It's simultaneous the reason that Toon and his charity channel he got from Conspiracy Cats was talking about those measurements I deflected with. And it's also the reason that Conspiracy Cat's the one who gave up that channel to McToon, is also talking about me currently, mentioning the facts of the measurements that I detailed to Tiny Tim. The idiocracy representative that we have here on our flat plane that we dwell atop. Someone representing adults by talking like a small child. Cats feel fit to defend this garbage. This idiocracy that he obviously feels the need to cuck to. But meanwhile, Katz is also talking about me and playing out clips of me talking about Earth being measured flat. And then lo and behold, calling me angry. Not addressing the flat Earth measurements that Dan here's using. Still just 1, Dan. We'll just count this as 1. No worries. We'll count them off. But yeah, Toon and Dan measure Earth flat. And Katz is bringing it up in his video. Doesn't seem to be addressing it. Doesn't also seem to be addressing the gas pressure without a container problem that he said he'd come back to when talking about it with Tommy the boxer. Doesn't seem to be a necessity to go back to that old ground, eh, Katz? Just bring it up by playing it with my words and then not addressing it when I detail it in your own video. A bit like Dan here. He seems to think that gas go down, go boom boom, 9.8 meters per second as the gas comes out of the ground and goes up.
First place.
New year, new you.
No shit, this is the
Ready
sixth
to get
ad.
on the road faster in 2025.
So gravity is holding on to nothing, clouds. So they're not flying off into space, right? And what they
I don't know who this guy is, but there is no space. It's a second law of thermodynamics violation. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Just ask Katz. Or maybe you'll come back to it later.
should. I don't understand why they're not.
They're not, because there isn't a fucking sky vacuum above our head. It's a violation of natural law. But it seems like this grey-haired old tosser's just throwing them up for Dan to bat out the park.
Why isn't it? Oh, it's because...
Why isn't it dispersing into Narnia? Why doesn't all the gas get sucked through the wardrobe?
Pressure.
Pressure? No, gas forming pressure would require it to press on something.
That's a cool idea. You're
No, that's how gas presses.
right. You're absolutely right. It is pressure.
Yes, that's right, it is. Yeah, not without containment.
I'm going to agree with you 100%.
I think Conspiracy Cats already answered this question years ago.
What, he said something...
What was the quote? Without the container, there can be no pressure. End quote. Conspiracy Cats. He
Not
solved this
scientists
problem
knows
a long time ago.
what gravity is.
Yeah, but atmospheric pressure is different, Chocolate.
Atmo means air.
Atmo what? Pressure?
It's an oxymoronic sphere-shaped air that SciManDan thinks that by begging the question of a sphere Earth that he hasn't proven, and suggesting that because of oxymoronic sphere-shaped air at pressure, arbitrarily not dispersing into a sky vacuum, in violation of the second law of thermodynamics, gases go down with gravity. Other than gases don't go down.
They have no idea, but they know what pressure is, right?
But the force exerted on the walls of containment.
But we all know what contains pressure: a cover. That is the only way you can have air pressure, is being contained.
Correct.
Unless, of course, you've got a massive atmosphere around.
Sorry, a massive atmosphere. That's oxymoronic, begging the question, sphere-shaped air. Air is gases. Atmo means gases. That's what it means. So because of air spheres... No, we don't have any air spheres, Dan. Beyond your painting behind you. My God, he looks old.
Around a massive planet that literally causes pressure because of the...
Literally. So if I just say you're literally a wanker, because literally you are a wanker, literally. No, just saying literally doesn't make it so, Dan. Where did I got that quote from? Oh, it's Dan's own words back to me in response. Yeah, just saying it doesn't make it so, right, Dan? Yeah? Where is that response? Has he deleted his own response?
Is he trying to say that the atmosphere is the container for the atmosphere? Because the guy was just talking about unique containment. How does he respond to that? Well, unless you have a massive atmosphere. Dude, that's the gas. What's wrong with you? Like, I don't... It's ridiculous.
The weight of itself.
Sorry, weight?
It could be...
So the weight of the gases? Like the clouds and their weight? Oh, of course, my bad. We'll just grab some of those clouds and put them on scales because they're going down 9.8 meters per second, of course. Dan, you idiot. Clouds are not going down 9.8 meters per second. They're going up. Were you dropped on your head? Did you not pay attention in second grade? Do you not understand the directionality of gaseous water? That would be water vapour. It ain't going down 9.8 meters per second, clown. You are obviously not very well educated. Yeah? Not only do you measure Earth flat with elevation angles, we'll still just call it one. He also thinks that clouds are going down, go boom boom. go splash splash. Let me be the first to enlighten you, Dan, you utter brain-dead retard. The clouds are going up. It's water vapour. It comes from ground level and goes up. You utter moron.
Of itself.
Doesn't happen any other way, guys. Okay? The radiation belt doesn't create anything like that.
Shout out to Unitox Femu. How to measure atmosphere is in comparing to vacuum. Well, both of them, vacuum regardless, is also just a measure of pressure. So the two are the same thing. If you're going to say how much pressure have you got, or the lack thereof, they're one and the same thing. They're just measuring how much gas particles interact with walls of containment. That's what pressure is. It doesn't matter if you describe it for a vacuum or for the gas that you're breathing. They're just gases.
The radiation belt
Thank you for the
is
super
the
chat.
dome over the flat land. That's all. Weather. I thank you for subbing. I thank you for viewing my videos, and let me be a part of your life.
No, we thank you, Chris, for supplying us with endless videos of entertainment. Like
Really? Why didn't you put a link to him then, you absolute scumbag? So you're using his material. I don't know who he is. There's no link to him. You're a wanker. Yeah? You're a degenerate parasite. That's all you are, Dan. I don't care. I know and you know that Earth is measured flat. Don't you, Dan? You're measuring it with angles. Should you ever assert a distance to anything ever, be it horizontally or vertically, you will also require a horizontal plane of reference. Miles, kilometres, these are all flat Earth measurements. Heights, off surface level, these are all flat Earth measurements, Dan. Now, I don't know where my reply and your reply, Dan, where did it go? It seems to have vanished. Have you deleted that guy's reply? Because it was on camera earlier. We had it and now it seems to have vanished. What's going on? Where's Dan's reply to this? Gone. It's now completely vanished.
Nathan.
Yes.
You didn't read properly. It's why how massive atmosphere is comparing to the vacuum, because he said you don't need container if you have massive atmosphere. It is if it's big.
Oh, so you're saying,
was,
I got you. In your response, you're saying,
yeah.
oh, right, how massive is it compared to the vastness of heliocentric space derived from flat Earth elevation angles? Correct?
It's very small, yeah. It's like a dot in the space.
No, I mean, if we jump into the heliocentric paradigm where we beg the question of a sky vacuum to be in and compare to the atmospheric, automatically assumed oxymoronic sphere-shaped air that's creating a down, go, boom, boom, go, splash, splash, cloud scenario, then comparatively, in his rhetoric, it's small. Meanwhile, to have gas pressure, you need to be under containment. That's how gas pressure is formed. To suggest that there's a area beyond the pressure that exists that is vastly different to the existing pressure that we're all breathing is an oxymoronic assertion that begs the question of sphere-shaped air. Air doesn't take sphere shapes to compare to the vastness of space, when the vastness of space itself is also a derivation of flat Earth elevation angle measurements to stars to create models and mathematics to then scale to say that it's a vast area of vacuum. All of it requires Earth be measured flat. With angles! Same ones Dan was talking about earlier. Thank you for the super chat, though, Sasha.
Yeah, okay.
Also, he shouldn't be using down. That's he should be saying going in, go splash, splash. If that you can make that make sense.
Well, that's what somebody replied to me in his comments. Someone was saying, oh, no, well, how high we are with respect to, gave it in feet. And I responded saying, well, how high you are off sea level is a height off sea level. It's a surface level measurement, linear. That's a flat Earth prerequisite. My response, which I typed out whilst this live show was streaming, now doesn't appear anymore. And neither does Dan's response to me. It's just my comment in isolation with no response to Dan. Good job I filmed it, because it's vanished. Now, either I'm being mucked around by YouTube and it'll magically reappear again, but as far as I can ascertain, my comment and the response from Dan has now vanished. Very interesting.
Wow, that's pathetic.
In any event, please let SciManDan know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to let you know that you measure Earth flat with elevation angles. This will be the first time that Dan has been informed that he measures Earth flat. Get chocolate. Get chocolate. I heard a and it was definitely you. I know that grunt.
Can you hear me?
Yes, just about.
So this horizontal plane that the observer is standing on, that's clearly defined by sources like Sustainable by Design and others who define the elevation angle. Where would they get this horizontal plane from if we're supposedly standing on a sphere?
You don't.
Where do you get them? You don't. So it doesn't really sound like SciManDan and all the anti-flatties have a problem with us. Seems like they have a problem with the source material. So maybe SciManDan should try to contact Sustainable by Design and anybody else who defines an elevation angle and approach them and say, hey, guys, we're supposed to be on a sphere. What are you talking about, a horizontal plane that the observer is standing on? Where did you get that from, being that we're on a sphere?
Oh, well, I mean, if you square that circle with Sustainable by Design, you'll have to get onto radar tutorial next. Elevation angle is the angle between the horizontal plane and the line of sight measured in the vertical plane. Radar tutorial.
Uh-oh. So it sounds like maybe we should start a list.
So do we use radar? Is radar useful at all? It's more important that we listen to Dan, who was dropped on his frickin' head, than understand and appreciate that by definition, elevation angle measurements and radar go hand in hand and are a flat Earth prerequisite. Maybe it's just me not understanding radar tutorial's definition of an elevation angle. I got another 18 of them, should they go through the efforts to make sure that radar tutorial change that an angle's actually curving around a ball rather than being a measurement of a plane that we're standing on.
Exactly. You guys don't have problems with us. You guys got problems with all those guys. who supposedly...
No, it's not with those guys. It's not with those guys. It's with basic geometric concepts.
Well, yeah, but before they can get to those basic geometric concepts, because, if they get to them, they probably would have been there already. Maybe they should talk to the direct guys who actually define these things for people in the world who are actually measuring them and using them.
Well, Conspiracy Cats has taught them. So in IGCSE 2021 edition, I'm not sure if Conspiracy Cats was still teaching GCSEs, but as far as I am concerned, he's a teacher who has taught that standard. That's GCSE. And they also define an elevation angle. An angle of elevation is the angle from the lower object to the higher one, while an angle of depression is the angle from the higher object to the lower one. Both angles are measured with respect to the horizontal plane of the reference object. Just so we're all clear, this is the angle measurement with respect to Earth that we all use. It's fundamental to navigating, mapping, building, charting, surveying. It's absolutely critical that Earth is a flat plane for any of those processes to take place, ever. They've been taking place for centuries. They'll always be taking place with respect to Earth's surface. Earth is a flat plane. There's no ifs. There's no buts. There's no, well, that's because it's really big. Yeah, that's right. It's really big and measured flat. always, by everyone, without exception. So given that that's the case, our job is done. It's not, oh, I can go and look at the sun above the horizon and measure its angle for 24 hours, therefore flat earthers are all wrong. No. You're all measuring Earth flat always, without exception. So either get used to it, or what? Pour scorn on me as a flat earther and tell me I don't understand how freaking clouds work because you didn't pay attention in second grade science. And you think that they go down? Down being with respect to a plane also. Gravity requires a plane of reference. See, idiots that support the cuckery and government cocksucking that is being a teacher or being SciManDan, yeah, leads you to the impression that when describing clouds going down with gravity, you fail to appreciate that you also need a horizontal plane of reference to describe the clouds going down, which they're not, with respect to. So down 9.8 metres per second is what the clouds are doing, says Dan, who didn't pay attention to the water cycle in school. What a thicko dropped on his head by his mother. Dumb as shit. Meanwhile, if we were to suggest that clouds are going down, go boom boom, go splash splash, because we too were dropped on our heads like Dan, who didn't pay attention in second grade science to the water cycle and how water vapour goes up. Not down 9.8 metres per second, it comes from the ground and goes up. Unlike this retard, dropped on his head in his discussions in response to a flat earther when suggesting they go down. What a dum-dum. Please let Dan know, you thicko, were you dropped on your head when you suggested that the gases coming out of the frickin' ground and going up, also only capable of description with respect to a horizontal plane, was actually them going down, also with respect to a horizontal plane. You don't have down on a ball. You have in and out only. But when you describe the height of the clouds off a flat plane, you'll delete the comment, won't you, Dan? Yeah, it's embarrassing when one of your commenters is telling me about the height of the cloud deck in feet off sea level. Good job I caught it, eh? In the pre-show, like recording what was going on with the comments before you deleted them, Dan. You abject coward. You deleted one of your own commenters' responses about measuring the height of the cloud deck off surface level. That's sea level. Level, Dan! Yeah, that's right. Every measurement of Earth always will be with respect to that surface level. Sea level in this instance. For the height of the clouds. Not how in they are or out they are. Obviously, you're not saying in, you're saying gas go down. With respect to a plane. Which is wrong. You don't understand the water cycle. You're a retard. Aren't you, Dan? That's why you're responding to this guy. Yeah? Because when you respond to me, you'll say things like, maybe it's because Nathan's a big fan of SciManDan. When responding to you and your reference frames are ruined, end quote, verbatim quote. Yeah, Dan, I'm not a big fan. I am pointing out that you measure Earth flat. And I'm directing my audience to make absolutely clear that this is number one. Dan measures Earth flat with angles. So please let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980, sent me with a polite comment. Unlike these parasites, these scumbags, this wanker, Dan didn't put a link to the videographer who he's covering, because he's a wanker. A complete wanker. He gets propped up by the censors who simultaneously shove me to the bottoms of the lists. Past tense, now I just don't exist. Yeah, same as conspiracy cats. Total scum who won't put links to the videos they're covering. Me, I will, because I'm not total parasitical scum. I will help my opponent, in this case Dan, by sending you, my audience, to Dan. Limited though I am, I'm heavily censored, unlike SciManDan, who doesn't put a link to anybody. He's just a parasite. When he parrots his nonsense about clouds going down with gravity, what a retard dropped on his frickin' head, and I want him to know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to let you know you're measuring Earth flat with elevation angles. In your response that you didn't put a link to the videographer for, you parasite, scumbag, retard who was dropped on his head when suggesting clouds go down with gravity. No, thicko. So please let him know. There's the link. You can see I'm not a parasite like SciManDan. Shout out to Never a Straight Answer. Book advance. Wish it could be more. Thank you. Oh, I see what you mean. You wish the super chat could be more. Oh, thank you so much. I'm touched. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed. Wasn't for people like you, the lights would not be on. It's just that simple. There's nothing else to cover in this video other than what the 2 bits I timestamped on it. There's very little else to cover in it. Right, that's it. Still got 20 minutes left on the live show, though.
Well, pertaining to your up and down, they are now saying that we're retarded because you can absolutely get an elevation from a point on a sphere.
No, a point is not going to give you a line for the angle. It's 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex, not 1 straight line and 1 point. That's just a line.
Oh, wait a minute. So before it was, you could get an angle from a curved line. Now all of a sudden it's changed into
No.
get it from a point?
Let's see it defined. Okay, no worries. According to what's the word? Wankers, it's a straight line and a point. Not according to the 20 citations I've already read 2. One was from Radar Tutorial. Sorry, was it Wanker Tutorial? No, Radar Tutorial. Tutorial for Radar. Now, did they say it's just a point? Because globe-believing spastics need it to be? No. They made it clear we need a horizontal plane. We'll be standing on it. Now, you say that's a point? No, dipshit. That's not what Radar Tutorial said. Now, maybe you spastics can go and get us a definition of what a fucking elevation angle is. And show us where it says, oh, it's actually just to a globe point. Yeah. Yeah, do you want to go and get us one of them?
They didn't say that. They're not, Nathan, they made it clear. They're not talking about an elevation angle. They're just saying because we say you can't say up anymore or down anymore. They said we certainly can, because you can have up and down on the point of a sphere.
Sorry, no, you can't. You're having a description from sea level. It was described by one of Dan's commenters before he removed the comment. That is to say, your height is described off sea level, not off sea curve. Now, if you dumbasses, spastics, that's globe believers, you want to go and find me a citation that says, now, actually, when we say height off sea curve, we mean it. Yeah, you're not going to find that. You spastics, look up what sea level is and then look up how heights are described. You're not going to win this one. Earth is measured flat without exception. Heights are no different to anything else that we measure with respect to Earth. They're off sea level, whether you like it or not.
That's why the little scumbags have to come out, do this, right? The self-proclaimed defenders of the globe, guardians of the globe, if you will, because if people look into this, this is the type of thing they find. Oh, these guys describe the elevation angle as the horizontal plane. You need a horizontal plane to stand on to get this angle. And then you got these clowns saying, oh, well, you don't need that. You're just standing on a sphere. Or you get angles from a sphere or a curved line.
No, these are disinformation agents. They're just lying to you. Let's give you a different citation. We've had 3 so far. What about eeducation.psu.edu? These are educational sites. The solar elevation angle, as measured, is the angle between the central ray from the sun, open brackets, beam radiation, and a horizontal plane contacting the observer. End quote. So is that a point? Did I hear point? Did it say point? Horizontal plane contacting the observer. It's clear as crystal. Earth is measured flat. Go ahead, one deck. Are you just hot micing one deck?
Sorry, I can't speak, mate.
No worries.
And the crazy part is these definitions all describe the observer as standing on the horizontal plane, not making it up with mathematics, not imagining it, standing on it. That would be the ground. So again, where do you get a horizontal plane if you think you're standing on a sphere?
What makes you think it means the ground? Just because it says the
Well,
ground?
let's give you a different one. This one's from Tasadia.com. Explanation: altitude angle. Quote, altitude angle is the vertical angle between the projection of sun's rays on the horizontal plane of Earth's surface. End quote. Earth is a horizontal surface. That's how we measure it. It's how Dan measures it. It's how McToon measures it. It's how Conspiracy Cats measures it. Everyone measures Earth flat. Now, when you point this out to a ball-believing dickhead, they will tell you, oh, well, of course it's because it's so big. Agree with them. Say, yes, that's right. We measure Earth flat and Earth's really big.
Can I just make a correction there, please? If you don't mind?
No.
Okay.
Obviously you can.
That means go, Brian.
The orientation of horizontal doesn't exist geometrically within their paradigm. They are talking about taking an elevation angle off of a tangent plane. But a tangent plane is not the surface of Earth. It's certainly not the surface of their globe. The orientation of horizontal is what the elevation angle is taken from. Now, I can take an angle to the top of a mountain from 3,000 feet above sea level. Let's say I could take an angle to the top of a high mountain 50 miles away and I'm 3,000 feet above sea level. But that horizontal plane that I'm creating is parallel to sea level, because mean sea level is our natural horizontal. That is the horizontal plane, right? The horizon, right, is the word horizontal is derived from the word horizon. That's where we get the orientation of horizontal from. All vertical heights above that will be 90 degrees to it, right? So what they're trying to claim, what they think they could, it's either they're trying to claim it's off a tangent plane or they're trying to completely remove the tangent plane and say they're just getting a zenith angle, right? Forgetting that you can't remove, even in their paradigm, you can't remove the tangent plane because you need 90 degrees. Even though they don't have a horizontal and a vertical, they can still create a 90 with a zenith from their center meeting a tangent plane at a point on the surface of the sphere. Geometrically, yeah, but you can't take an elevation angle off of that. And the zenith angle won't mean anything if you're trying to deny the 90. And the problem with zenith angles is they require the horizontal because they're off of a vertical. So even when they're trying to do that, that doesn't work. None of it works for them because the zenith angle is just read the opposite way from the elevation angle. And both of them require a horizontal plane that's either mean sea level, right, like more or less would be used in celestial navigation, or it's parallel to mean sea level, regardless of its length. So
but Brian,
geometrically, they can't do any of this. Go on, Chuck.
So Brian, like even them saying tangent plane, isn't that contrary to their other point where they say that you can actually get a curve off an angle off a curved surface? Like,
but that's what they're saying when they say
how
that.
do you say that you can get an angle off a curved surface, but then you're asserting a tangent plane, regardless of whether a tangent is a beg of the question or not? Like, you're still saying you need a plane. So how can you say you need a plane and then also you could do it off a curve? Like, it's ridiculous.
But that's see, when they say I can get an elevation angle off a curved surface, as soon as all you do is ask them, go on then. And the first thing they'll do is they make a tangent plane, not realizing that they need the orientation of horizontal, not just a straight plane. Mathematically, they can create. No, you need the orientation of horizontal. Otherwise, because it's very, very simple, right? The GP of the celestial body, the mountain, whatever it is, the tower, whatever it is that you're taking an angle to, the GP of that thing, right, will be at mean sea level. And that means it has to be directly below the star, the top of the mountain, the building, whatever, right?
What's it stand
Directly
for?
below that, geographical position, right? That has to be directly below that on the surface of Earth. That's where the GP is. Now, that won't happen, especially if you're talking about, even if you're just talking about an angular size measurement of something like Mount Everest from 100 miles away. The GP of Mount Everest will not be matching where they need it to match on the globe. It doesn't work. It can't work. That GP for Mount Everest has to be directly below, right, the tip of Mount Everest, and it has that makes a vertical that's parallel to the vertical that if I was taking the angle that I'd have at my position. So those two zeniths have to be parallel verticals, and they both have a shared horizontal baseline, and that is mean sea level. It doesn't work. The GP, right, has to be directly below that 90-degree position that's at the GP. That's either at the GP of the celestial body or mountain or whatever, or it's directly above in a vertical horizontal height. We're talking about referencing the Earth. We're not talking about referencing a tangent plane that's somewhere off out in heliocentric space. So geometrically, none of this can happen. Go on, John.
Well, still though, zenith is by necessity measured as an elevation angle of 90 degrees. Without 90 degrees, you don't get a zenith.
No, I don't. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I'm saying what they would call a zenith would be a line coming from their center, the center of the sphere, outward through the surface of the sphere, meeting a tangent plane. So they think then, because they have a mathematical 90, they think, Bob's your uncle. No, that zenith will not be a vertical, right? That they're trying to call a zenith. Within their paradigm, that will not be a vertical, and the tangent plane will not be a horizontal. And the tangent plane will have no reference to the surface of the Earth they're claiming. They can't do it without the orientations of horizontal and vertical, right? And referencing the surface of Earth. And they can't do any of those three things. Need those three requirements. They can't, they don't have them. It's over. They can't do it geometrically.
Right, but the reference requires a measurement that you, the measurement requires a reference. You have to be able to experience what you're referencing. How do you reference the center of Earth?
But you can't, you're not doing any of that. You're literally trying to reference a GP position that's directly below the celestial body or top of the mountain at a distance. That's what you're actually referencing. Those points will not match where those points would have to be on the surface of the sphere. Because not only do they need what they need with the celestial body, for instance, they need to move that down to their tangent plane to get it a line from their center. Like I've shown all this geometrically, none of it matches reality. They can't match reality. They can only mathematically, basically come up with geometric excuses that stand outside the geometry that's needed for the measurements. It doesn't work. They don't have what they need. They don't have the GP points directly vertically below the celestial body or tip of the mountain or tower. They don't have those. They don't have the horizontal plane. They don't have the vertical. Any of the verticals, they don't have them. In reality, all horizontal planes must be parallel to each other, and all of them must be parallel to the plane of the horizon, and all verticals must be parallel to each other. And the GP positions must be found on the surface of Earth. They don't have that. Right? We reference a GP position. If I've taken a 45-degree angle to a celestial body, that means its GP position is from the point at mean sea level directly below me. It's the GP position of that celestial body. It's 2,700 nautical miles in a horizontal. So my GP and the GP of the celestial body are on the same horizontal plane, the shared horizontal plane. That can't happen on their globe. It's just none of this works geometrically. It doesn't work.
Again,
they don't have it.
Again. Yeah, I agree completely. So when are we going to have like a special live stream where these guys, these anti-fatties, like SciManDan, I like that, Nathan, and all these clowns will go through these same definitions and show us all how this horizontal plane that the observer is supposedly standing on actually means that it's a spherical surface. Like when are they going to do that?
That's what Brian just spent 10 minutes explaining. Geometrically, it doesn't add up. Yeah. You can't extrapolate. It's a bit like the saying Einstein and Newton are compatible. You're like, no. They're in different geometries. And likewise, if you're going to describe axiomatically the acquisition and utilization of a flat plane with respect to a sphere, there isn't one. Just doesn't exist.
Well, just to answer what Chocolate said, and to add on to what Nathan just said, Chocolate,
never, they won't ever.
Yeah, they can't. They've tried to reference it, and they try and call what they would call a zenith from the center of the globe. They try to call that a vertical, and the tangent plane a horizontal. But the problem with that is that's back to every point between, let's just say, every point along the surface of the sphere. From that point they stand on, it will be the creation of a whole new tangent plane. So all of those tangent planes are supposed to be all horizontals that are all at different orientations to each other. And all of that nonsense, right, is completely debunked by the GP point. Because the GP point has to be, right, referencing a point directly below it. That means it's a point either directly on the horizontal plane that I'm measuring off, or it's directly below that horizontal plane, directly in a vertical, not into some point on a sphere, directly below. So if I'm taking an angle to Mount Everest and I'm doing an angular size measurement of it, then the angular size measurement itself completely destroys them for 2 or 3 epic reasons. But just using the GP of my GP from where I stand and the GP of Mount Everest, both of them, if I'm 100 miles away, they must be on the same horizontal plane of reference. That means, and their GPs is geographical position. That means they're points on the surface of Earth. That means that those 2 points, 100 miles in distance from each other, are on the same horizontal plane, and that horizontal plane is mean sea level, which is the Earth. Our horizontal plane, our average horizontal plane throughout the whole world is sea level. It's mean sea level, technically.
Are you trying to say...
That's the point.
You're trying to say sea level's level?
But that's the thing about it, right? Mean sea level is a horizontal. Go on, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It all comes back to the geometry, but not just the geometry. It's what you're referencing. You're referencing a GP point, a GP position. To extra proof of this, because it brought up the angular size measurement of Mount Everest. Let's say Mount Everest is like 5.5 miles high, and I'm standing 1 mile above a point on Earth, right? And I'm taking an angular size of Mount Everest 120 miles away, let's say, right? The angle I get, right, I must subtract my 1 mile of elevation off of the full height of Mount Everest. So I'm taking an angle, and that angle must match 4.5 miles. So because I know my distance from Mount Everest, right, which would be in a straight horizontal, because I know that, then I know that my angle will directly equate to the remainder of the full height of Mount Everest, above the plane of reference I stand upon. And that angular size measurement will always match. Now, if the Earth was a globe of radius 3959 miles, it will never match, because Mount Everest's GP and the zenith coming up from that GP will be diverging from where I stand, from the zenith above my head, right? Because I'm eating at the center of the globe. And that means there will be a lean of Mount Everest away. And when you show it geometrically, I won't get the angle I get. Right, that won't mean that, because they don't have perspective or angular sizes on the globe anyway. But hypothetically, even if they do it geometrically, just show it in GeoGebra or CAD or something, the angle you get will not match 4.5 miles if I'm standing 1 mile above the mean sea level. It won't match. None of it will match. It's all wrong. None of it works. The Earth the Earth is not a globe. The Earth is flat. There's no way out of it for them. Geometrically, they can't do this. Sorry, I got a bit riled up because I've had to go through so much of this in videos, and I deal with so many of these guys, and it's the same old rhetoric. No matter how much you correct them, some idiot will still come out with some video, and you won't even know about, and they're trying to take an angle off of a vertical that they're trying to a vertical they don't have.
I don't blame you for the frustration, Brian, because again, that's why I keep pointing it out. Like, you guys don't have a problem with us. You guys got a problem with reality, You might want to go check out the people that define things like elevation angles, things that people use to measure Earth, right? It's not us you have a problem with, because they're saying the same thing we are. We're just going by reality. You're standing on a horizontal plane. If you want to say that they're saying it's also too big to measure the curve, well, then you're also saying they're measuring it flat, which is our whole point.
Every time they've said Earth's just so big, we have to measure it flat. They're conceding to this problem. The cognitive dissonance has to lean on in favour of the measurements when they say that. They can't deny the measurements. So, oh yeah. I mean, in this instance, we'll measure Earth flat, but that's fine. It's really big. A really big ball that we're measuring flat because it's a really big ball. So that's okay. Think of every time that you've told somebody that if you're a baller. It's not okay. It's just a flat Earth measurement.
That's why I'm not going to stop harping on this because again, been here 10 years and I've heard that many times, right? And yeah, in years past we said, well, but no, it's not supposed to be flat. You should have this curve right here, right? No more. Your concession stands. Thank you very much. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah. Okay, so big, we measure it flat. There's nothing ball-shaped in that. It's an apology. All right, well, it's still ball-shaped even though we measure it flat because it's really big. No, we just measure it flat. Really big has nothing to do with it. You mean no matter how big it gets in terms of the scale and size of that measurement, it's always flat? Yeah, we know. It's always measured flat. That's right.
Yep. We'll take it.
Well, it's just a fact. Those are the facts in the matter, aren't they? And Brian's saying when you try and axiomatically tie a flat Earth measurement, in this case of elevation angle, to a curved surface, you said it at the start of this, Chocolate, does not compute is the answer.
This object is not a line. Access denied.
He's referring, is it Rob Durham that did that? Rob Durham did a video where he's got a CAD program up and he's just showing, can I get a line from this curve? And the computer program just says no. Because what you're trying to get an angle from is a curve. Angles aren't formed with curves. It's just that simple. That's why all the definitions of elevation angles define them as what they are. Straight lines, in this case, with respect to the surface of the plane we measure. When we talk about Earth being measured, it's a plane. Like I say, you can tell us till you're blue in the face, that's only because it's really big. And you can believe that if you want to, but it is just your belief in an Earth that's so big, we measure it flat.
A few minutes ago, Nathan, you said something was, you can't get that measurement on the globe, it's a flat Earth measurement. No, it's just a measurement of Earth that shows the Earth to have to have a horizontal plane of reference throughout the whole lot of it. That's all it does. You don't even have to say it's a flat Earth, because then it's like a kind of a false dichotomy situation. Even though it's not really. But the point I'm making is you put up these two charts. No, you don't have to. Just measurements of the Earth show the Earth to be a horizontal plane of reference with vertical heights and drops above and below that horizontal plane throughout its entirety.
Well,
That's
we wouldn't have to refer to these measurements as flat Earth measurements if we didn't have these people referring to these flat Earth measurements as all Earth measurements. Right? If we didn't have to go through that little do-si-do, then we just say measurements and get on with our day, right? But then you got clowns like SciManDan sitting in front of their computer trying to just read off mainstream paradigm nonsense to us, right? Telling us that horizontal planes are actually freaking strips. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I understand that point. The only reason it's being said is because, like, nobody, as I've said in the past, nobody ever started saying the Earth was flat until someone started claiming it was a globe, right? That's fair. That's fair. But the point I'm making is, we just measure the Earth, and we reference the Earth, and every way we measure, reference, navigate, aviate, whatever, right? Survey the Earth shows that it's a horizontal plane of reference, with vertical heights above and drops below that horizontal plane. Like, that's what it is. Like, we're not even trying to we're not like trying to claim that. That's just a fact. It just is. That's just what it is. And it just doesn't fit their paradigm. That's really the problem, isn't it? It's not our fault. Nathan, it's not your fault it doesn't fit their paradigm. That's not your fault. You're not responsible for that.
You're right, and I should relax a bit more because you're right. This is not our problem. I'm warming to this more and more, Brian. I'm glad you've said that. Yeah, it's not our problem.
That's what I'm saying.
The fact that Earth measurements don't match, that's your problem. Sorry, Chocolate.
Sorry. No, that backs up my point. This is not our problem. This is their problem. You guys got to go deal with that shit. We're saying the same thing all these sources are saying. You measure elevation angles off a horizontal plane. It's very simple. You guys want to magically change that into, no, we're actually standing on a sphere, getting these same angles, which you can't get from this supposedly curved surface that you got, right?
Yeah, I mean, my only point with it, Nathan, is that if we keep on saying, I won't point the finger just at you, because that would be unfair, because we're all doing it at times, right? But I understand you're running a show, so maybe the more fingers are pointed at you, right, for things that are said on the show. But my point is, it's not that you're wrong, right, straight out wrong what you're saying. It's that when we keep on saying, that's a flat out measurement, that's a flat out measurement, it's like, that's the same as saying, it's like them saying, "'Tis a globe, it's a globe, it's a globe." It's like one is a chant versus the other chant. We don't need to, we're just referencing what happens in reality. It matches what we say it matches because it just does. It's not even that it matches, it shows rather than it just shows, right? What we have been stating for since God knows how long. It just doesn't match their paradigm. And that's not our fault. But they want it to be our fault.
Yeah, I totally agree. They want it to be out. They want to project their issue with it not matching reality, their globe that is, onto us, like it's our fault. It's a good way of putting it.
They're basically saying
the same way Fight the Tight Shirt had a big problem with George Booster coming out saying that gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. And then, I don't know, somehow he was able to go get George Booster and have a whole interview with him, right? Where he basically reiterated the same damn thing. Why don't the other guys do the same thing with these guys that define elevation angles? Go get somebody from Sustainable by Design and have a nice little interview with him so he can tell you how the horizontal plane that the observer is standing on is actually a sphere. Please, I mean, we would love that. I'm sure everyone would love that, right? To clear that up, to make sure everything's on point, nice and clean, right? Dot the I's, cross the T's.
The problem is, Chocolate.
Am I off on that?
I think you are a little bit. Well, why I'm saying that is what will happen is these people are probably ballers as well. So you'll have pressure from the Ruhifs and all that on their side, from this arena. You'll have pressure from them, right? The SciManDans and all the rest of it, right? Trying to get them to say it's a horizontal plane, but it's a horizontal tangent plane. They'll have them change it to horizontal tangent plane or something like that.
I want that process fine.
Yeah, I understand. You might be. I know you're not green to that. I get it. I'm just saying that's what they'll do because Charles Glover Matt has already claimed, and I'm sure he has since then because he's going to go back a couple of years ago, that he was going to be contacting GeoGebra and getting them to make it so you can get an elevation angle off a curved surface or something like that. I didn't
fundamentally. Okay, so what we're saying has made a baller want to fundamentally change how geometry works. You think he can do that?
Yeah, let him try, or let him squirm, or let him do the same thing that George Booster did when he was having his little interview with Fight the Tight Shirt, right? That he knows what he's saying is not what the guy who's interviewing wants to hear, but he has to say that because he's got to stand on business, right? So he'll do the air quotes and say, it's not really a force, but you can think of it as a force, right? Things like that. Yeah. I want to see the same thing with the elevation angles. Same thing.
Well, I would love to see how you fundamentally change geometry. It ain't gonna happen.
Well, something got to happen.
Yeah, exactly, Chocolate. Something's got to happen. And the thing is that, John, the ballers have put pressure on so many different websites and different people to change things around, change citations, change references around over the past few years, since the past 10 years, basically, or 11 actually, for Betty. That I wouldn't put it past them to get GeoGebra to try and change geometry, because heliocentrism goes that deep. They'll forego anything. I mean, people who are staunch Christians their whole life will suddenly go against Christianity in place of heliocentrism. Now, that doesn't mean they won't end up looking GeoGebra or CAD or something wouldn't end up looking stupid if they did it, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't do it. Look at that guy, Professor Wolf. Is that it? Is that his name? He changed the citation he had because QE was using it, and he was contacted by the ballers, right? And he changed it around, and he got into a load of trouble because loads of people had used that citation in their theses or whatever. Loads of people from the university, and he had to change it back. Yeah, exactly, Chocolate. I know.
You remember years ago when the gravity thing was still whatever, and I think it was before the whole Mooser fight the tightrope thing. That when Rumpus was literally live on one of their little hangouts, and he said blatantly out loud, like, we need to go to these physicists and the academics, like, the teachers, and tell them to stop saying that gravity is a force, or it's not a force. We need to stop them from doing that. We need to change that. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was years ago, but yeah, this is the type of thing you're talking about.
I remember that.
Yeah, so you want to go ahead and change citations and move things around because those pesky flat earthers are asking questions and pointing things out? No, we're just dealing with reality. And now it seems like you want to change reality around. So I want to see if the same thing can happen with this. That's it.
You can't do it.
Well,
how is a computer going to acquire an angle if it curves a line?
Exactly. But look, they'll do it if they're programmed to do it, but that'll come back to haunt them.
No. I mean, no, they can't do it. It's impossible. You won't be able to get an angle. It just won't happen.
What they'll try and create an automatic tangent without you asking them or something. They'll try and do some nonsense, John. That's what I have no doubt about it. They'll try and do some kind of nonsense because that's what these people bloody do. What was I going to say? Let's be honest, right? For years and years and years, in social media, everywhere, it's always been flat earthers are the problem. Flat earthers are the problem. Flat earthers are the problem. No, flat earthers aren't the problem. Regardless of whether they say something good or say something stupid, they're not the problem. The problem is reality, and it's not matching their paradigm. That's the problem. We're not responsible for that. We're just pointing it out. They're trying to kill the messenger all the time. Like, there's no point in me attacking the postman because I don't like the letter he's giving me. Sorry?
I don't really agree with that. The reality is fine. Reality is reality. That reality is not the problem. The problem is their perception of reality and how they try to portray it to others. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, their issue. Yeah, but see, my point is that they're trying to make it out as, when I say they, it's not about the ballers. They're trying to make it out as if we're the issue. We're not the issue. For them, it's not us. It's reality and the things we're pointing out is the issue. It's like that video where the father is there trying to tell his son or little daughter or whatever that, look, the rocket is going out into space, and he or she is saying, but it's going down, Daddy. No, it's going off up. No, it's going down. Like the child was literally referencing exactly what the rocket was doing, which was taking an arc downward into the ocean, more or less. And the father didn't want to deal with it. Was the problem the child, or was the problem that the father didn't want to address what was actually happening in front of his eyes? The problem was he didn't want to address what was happening. Simple as.
I tell you what, if somebody tried to say I was chanting because somebody stole my dang lawnmower and was mowing their yard with it, and I was saying that's my lawnmower, I'd punch them in the nose, I think.
Yep. Sounds like a punch in the nose would be deemed necessary. Sure.
But that's what it all boils down to, isn't it? They're using our stuff. I noticed that video by one of the Hangouts that we did was titled that recently, like in the last few months. And that's what it boils down to. They want to use flat Earth measurements.
And then claim a globe.
How do you deal with a baller who says he only needs an inch of a straight line to acquire an angle?
Well, the length, if you talk about an elevation angle, the adjacent of that elevation angle can be no longer than 1 inch.
Right. It doesn't matter whether it's an inch or a mile. A segment of a horizontal plane is still a horizontal plane.
Yeah, I was gonna say it still sounds like they need a straight line, even if it's just an inch, as they claim.
Yeah, but that question, or a baller saying that, I should say, that statement, means that the baller is trying to deny the measurement itself. But if you're taking an elevation angle and you're saying you're taking it off of a horizontal 1 inch, for a actually don't have horizontal on globe, so saying horizontal ends it straight away. But if you're saying that the horizontal you're using is 1 inch in length, then that means your elevation angle can only have an adjacent of 1 inch, because you're measuring a vertical height above the horizontal adjacent. That's what you're measuring. They want to deny the measurement of the opposite when it comes to a celestial body, and they're going to have to start denying it when it comes to everything. They're trying to remove. It's very simple. They're trying to claim, right, a triangle with two sides and one angle, one internal angle, and it doesn't even have an internal because it only has two sides.
They don't have one.
They can say it's internal, but you know what I mean. They're trying to claim a two-sided triangle. That's what they're trying to claim. Two-sided triangle with one internal angle. That's what the sum of their triangle can be no more than 90 degrees. And do you know what I mean? That's basically what they're saying.
Correct.
If you go into it geometrically, that's what they're saying.
But they don't have one angle to argue about three angles and a line opposite the point you're making. They don't have an angle at all.
They don't have anything.
Yeah. They come up with the strangest ideas and with the most superfluous arguments. But then they come with like, I just need an inch. So that's when my arguments really fail, being a flat earther, to be honest.
Well, no, you'll need a flat Earth for that inch. It's linear.
Yeah, you need to watch my videos. Your arguments don't fail. It's that you're under the impression they fail. They haven't failed at all. You've just allowed, you just haven't geometrically held them to their claim. You can't have an elevation angle without a 90 degrees at the end of that straight line. So that means if they're claiming they only need an inch long of a straight line, but they can't claim a horizontal, that orientation doesn't exist and can't exist on a globe. Within their paradigm, it can't exist. Horizontal or vertical can't exist. Now, they can say that they're going to have a 1 inch long straight line, which will only be a tangent in their paradigm. They still have to put a 90 degree angle at the end of that 1 inch straight line. That means that the elevation angle they're measuring can be no longer, its adjacent can be no longer than 1 inch.
No,
you can't use that with a celestial body or anything else because what they're doing is they're trying to deny the use of the adjacent and the opposite. Yet it's the opposite is what's being measured off of the adjacent. They're trying to deny the horizontal adjacent and the vertical opposite that you're actually measuring. You're literally measuring the opposite, the vertical, above that horizontal adjacent. And they're trying to deny those two things. They're trying to have an elevation angle that just has a hypotenuse.
Yeah, I got you.
We're talking about straight lines, right? Whether it's segments down to an inch, expand it to a mile, or you cover the equatorial plane with it. A segment of a horizontal is still a horizontal. All I need is an inch. You still need a flat earth for that.
Where would the inch even be? Is the inch at the GP? Well, then you wouldn't be able to measure it from wherever you are, or is the inch at your feet? Well, you're not going to measure 90 from where you are, because if the inch is at your feet, well, then you don't have it at the GP. So it's one or the other. So that's a pretty silly thing to say as far as I'm concerned. But hey, they got to try, man. Imagine the pain of trying to convince everyone a flat plane is actually a sphere, right?
Well, by admitting that all they need is an inch is to say is all they need is a flat plane.
A little bit of flat, that's all I need.
Yeah, and I know, but now I understand, because you do need the 90-degree angle to actually measure the height or the elevation itself. Of course, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Right,
and that 90 degree, the baseline of that 90 degree, you must be basically measuring off of that baseline. So that has to be stretched all the way to you, regardless of the length. So if it's 2,700 nautical miles or if it's 2,700 inches, it makes no difference. It's hard, and it must be referenced in the air.
Yeah, and if they say 1 inch is all they need, then that's the elevation on that 90-degree angle of that 1 inch. That's the elevation that you'll be able to measure, only that 1 inch. Yeah, no, I get it. Absolutely. That makes sense.
Well, it means that they can't measure an elevation angle, then it would be only, their elevation angle would be 89 point blah, 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 blah degrees.
No, no, it wouldn't. No, it would not be an angle. It's a straight line. At no point is a curve a straight line.
Yeah, but they're claiming that they're going to be using a 1 inch long straight line to take an angle off.
Yes.
One point being is that they can't do that. Completely ends them when they say that, because they're denying the elevation angle itself. They're denying they need horizontal and vertical. They don't have it.
A segment of a curve is a curve. A segment of a line is a line. If you don't have a line, you don't have an angle. All you have is a curve. You don't have an angle. It doesn't matter how much you segment it. It will just isn't that.
Well, they don't have a 1 inch straight line on the surface of the sphere. That has to be a tangent plane, no matter what. Sorry, no matter what way they twist it or turn it, they're still claiming a tangent plane. This 1 inch thing they're talking about is not the surface of that sphere.
This is that straight line they're trying to measure while sitting on a rocking horse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
At what point do you start measuring that line? Well, yeah, somewhere along.
I think that's John's
They're
point.
trying to say to you, and you saying your argument kind of falls apart at that. All I need is a segment of the horizontal plane 1 inch long
So,
And I
so all you
can make
need is be 1 inch away from the DP. Measure is the same. Okay.
I think you're all missing John's point. Everyone just go on mute while John speaks, so we don't need horrendous audio. Just John. Just make your point again, John, because everyone's missing it. It seems.
Yes. For it to be a 1 inch segment of a horizontal line, it must be a horizontal line. If it's a 1 inch segment of curve, it's not an angle.
Nobody's missing
Yeah,
that.
but I'm not missing that point.
I said that
Sorry,
from
Dr. Ford.
that was the first thing I said when the guy said that they asked you for an inch of a straight line. Well, it sounds like you still need a straight line.
Quick shout out to Ashley for thank you for extending the show, Nathan. Linear show. Thank you for the super chat. But I am actually going to round
as
out.
soon as you mentioned measuring elevation angle, they're not measuring curvature for a start.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm going to round out on that note. So with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Closed out the show.
3:30.
Closed out the show and then advertised the show.
I advertised it at the end of the live stream, so people will hear it at the end of the live stream.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank Divergent Droid. It was him that put it in the chat. I happened to be looking at it as I was about to press the end button.
Put it in the chat? What chat? Oh, the YouTube chat.
My YouTube chat.
Oh, got it. All right.
How's the after show?
Nathan, do you have a... Sorry.
I was just going to jokingly say, is the after show over already? Because it's all gone quiet. Go ahead.
Do you have a release date on your book yet? And if so, do you also have a title for it yet?
Yes and no. The title's Welcome to Flat Earth, the ultimate flat Earth reference. And the release date is 3 months, maybe? 4 months?
Before Christmas?
I'd say so.
Yeah, before Christmas. It'll definitely be this year.
Brilliant.
We're on a slight higher. Adam's on holiday. We're on about chapter 8 of 14.
Yeah. I'm going to make myself a very unpopular family member once that book hits the shelves, honestly.
Lots of people are going to get gifted a book, are they? Good.
Yeah. Are you also going to go digital? Like, will it be available on those digital platforms?
Yes. I'm hoping there'll be an audiobook as well, all simultaneously released.
That's great, man. I wish you really all the best with it, man. You deserve it. You're one of the strong rocks in this very tempest, flat earth movement, man. You're the man. Seriously.
Well, a rock's only as strong as its foundations. And I can only thank everyone around me for that. So all of the people who are helping currently are the reason the book's taking longer, but will ultimately be a far more refined book. So, yeah, it's not just me, but, 99%.
Yeah,
So,
but I do,
axiomatic relationship between Earth and horizontal. Thank you.
So I saw a good joke by Neil in one of the chats. So I said, I've got somebody sorted to do an audio read of the book so that it can come out with a professional read done by, someone who does that, who's offered to do it. Oh, I can't afford to pay somebody and they've offered. So yes, that's absolutely awesome. And I said, an audiobook version read by the author will have to follow at a later date. And Neil came back and said, yeah, we'll get Adam and QE to read it at a later date. Boom, boom. Very funny, Neil.
Just
And
going back
the
to that
audio
elevator,
book will be-
regardless. Sorry, Brian.
There you go, one deck.
I'm just saying what was the elevation angle. Just going back to that, regardless of the dimensions of the elevation angle, it's never measuring curvature.
Hey Nathan, is the word globiolus in the book?
You know what? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it is.
Read it.
About,
Let's see
what
this in
about
the
Paul?
glossary. See what it means.
It's very.
about Paul Jr.?
It's not that kind of book. So there are certain slang words in there, but like our lexicon does make it through and does get detailed in the glossary at the back. But when it comes to the Coriolis effect, that chapter, which is extensive, is just very matter of fact. So it's sticking to sort of what is rather than what our anti-flat Earth brethren would like it to be, which is where globiolus comes from. But it's been at least 2 or 3 months since we did Coriolis chapter, so maybe it gets a mention, but I honestly don't think it does. I don't think globiolus is in there. I could be corrected. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while since we did the Coriolis chapter. But from memory, like I say, it's just as is rather than as it would like to be by our opponents. Does that make sense?
I got it.
The audio book will be read by Anthony Riley.
By Anthony Riley? Oh, yeah, I like it. And then he went to this and then like...
Yeah, you'll have a choice of Anthony Riley, Neil Costantino, or George.
No, the person who's going to be doing it is actually a professional voice actor. So that's the person who'll be doing it. And I don't mean me, although I was professionally trained. That's not my job. I don't do voice acting, you know, I'm not a voiceover artist.
You're talking about Adam?
No. You don't know who it is.
How do you know?
Well, if you do, just don't mention it, because I'm sure that person doesn't want their name mentioning until the time is correct, and then, you know, people will be, oh, who reads the audiobook? They'll be like, oh, it's this guy. Oh, I know that name. Yeah, yes, you do.
Not Candice
I don't
Owens,
know.
is it?
You do. You will if you don't. And when you do, you'll go, oh, I know that person. Oh, ah, yes, you do.
That would be hard to do, read that entire book aloud as a baller.
Why? Because they're all a bit dumb? Struggle reading and stuff?
No, because of the statements of fact and citation within that book.
Of course, you've helped dig out some of those citations specifically for seismology, right, John?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going through the Cavendish paper a couple of days ago. I was going to bring it up. You know, it's on the very first page of that.
There we go. Flat Earth, go on.
Yes, they talk about how the device will be set up on the horizontal plane of reference.
The torsion bar?
Yes. It's torsion with respect to what? Not a curve.
You know what else uses torsion bars? F1 cars. Instead of springs. Not a lot of F1 fans in. I can tell. This is a tough gig.
Well, it's kind of a sidebar. Could we go back to you telling people what they don't know?
Me telling people what they don't know?
Yeah, crystal ball. Like.
Crystal ball? Oh, right. I know.
Remember you told me you don't know. How did you know that?
How do I know that you don't know? Oh, that's a conundrum right there. I can't possibly know that you don't know.
I personally think that Flatsy would be perfect for the book. as being the person reading it as the audiobook. She's everybody. There's no baller alive that would even say they don't like the sound of Flatsy's voice, the way she speaks and everything.
Well, that says maybe. It's not Flatsy, no. Let's not have a little guessing session of who it is, though.
I'm not guessing. I'm just saying. I'm just making a suggestion.
Just offering a Flatsy services, if I could say the damn word, like you're a digital pimp or something.
I'm just saying Flatsy would be perfect because everyone likes hearing Flatsy's voice.
Yeah,
she's very, and she's of course she's female. That helps as well. You know,
she's got a hillbilly voice.
Yeah, she got to play that accent for the American audience.
You can just see Brian with a big red hat, Cuban heels. Yeah, she's a really good girl. You'll love her.
Nathan, you're the most articulate person, a speaker. I think should be the one.
I will. I will do a read of it as well, so it'll be read by the author as well. But it'll take me a considerable amount of time to do that. Whereas a pro voice actor can. I'm not saying they'll just rattle it off, but by the same token, they kind of will because they're used to doing it. So initially, it'll be read by someone else, and then I can take my time doing my version. But I just want a spoken word voice book version to be released simultaneously. And again, if it's me doing it, that puts a massive amount of pressure on me to get it read well before the book's released. Whereas it's like, I'm happy to wait for a voice actor to do it, a voiceover actor to do it while we're waiting. So if it takes him a week or two, that's fine. But me, it'll roll into being 2 months, 3 months of me trying to record it and edit it.
How about Eric Dubé?
Does Eric Dubé read particularly well? I don't know that he does. I mean, he's all right. He's just not a voice actor.
No, he's effeminate. His voice is effeminate. I don't think he'd be good.
Would you say Eric Dubé is effeminate? I mean, I suppose he has got a fairly softly spoken voice.
No, it's soft-spoken voice, but I don't think it's classifies as a good audiobook reader. I think you would be the best. Your voice is, like you said, you have some training, a lot of training.
Yeah.
And it really shows. Like, you're the best speaker out of anybody on this whole platform.
Oh, thank you.
Nah, Flatsy's down. And Huey.
Yeah, I got trained by a woman whose name eludes me now, but she was an actor in a show that the Brits might be familiar with called LOLO. I'm going to look up her name. But she was the character that was like a German Gestapo mistress type woman, Helga. You guys remember the blonde from LOLO?
That sounds familiar.
I remember.
Because here in Canada, we get a lot of UK shows, eh?
I'll look her up. But anyway, she was my voice and speech teacher. I've just forgotten her name.
Who's the blonde from Ed Lasso or whatever? Really tall blonde, and she's like the owner of the team or something, the soccer team. I really like her. She's nice looking.
Kim Hartman. What's her name? Kim Hartman.
She's one hot brow line, I tell you.
Well, she was a lot older when she taught me, although, yes, she was quite attractive in Hello Hello, or LOLO, as it was called. But yeah, Kim Hartman, my voice and speech teacher. Very good she was too. She also taught me how to crack a whip. Well, that's strictly not true either. Although she cracked whips on the show, it wasn't actually her that taught me that. It was her husband that taught me how to crack a whip. He came in for a couple of lessons and taught us how to crack whips in one of the lessons. We did a lot of crazy stuff in that performing arts course. Cracking whips was one of them.
So you're a cracker.
I used to crack. I was taught how to crack a whip by the husband of Kim Hartman, who was in Hello Hello as Helga.
I didn't ask you that. I said, so you're a cracker.
Yes, a whip cracker. Yes, indeed. I can indeed crack
Not
a whip.
Dumbass cracker. Yeah, I got the whip part. Thanks.
The crack is it going beyond the speed of sound, you know?
How fast is that?
It's pretty fast.
700 kilometers?
Nah, it's never that fast, is it?
Speed of sound is like 700 miles an hour, somewhere around that. Is it 670 or 760 or something? It's over 650 anyway.
Don't you need a Mach reference?
343 meters per second.
How many inches?
767 miles per hour.
Yeah, I was in the ball.
1 inch. Oh, I didn't.
You whispering, Chocolate? You being ironic?
He said 1 inch. That's all they need. That's what he said. I don't think Kiwi heard that one.
I don't think 1 inch is enough. Nobody's ever satisfied with just the one.
Yeah.
Apparently the bowlers feel like they need one, so just give them an inch, man.
The ballers are happy with just the 1 inch. Well, like John said, they'll still need it to be flat.
Bolchinians like 1 inch, yeah.
All Chinians, I've heard that in years.
Yeah, the chin, there's the testicles hanging from their chin.
Yeah, lovely. What's happening, Adam? I didn't get to that part. I had a little accident, so.
Hey, QE.
Hey, Adam's trying to speak.
Yeah, speed of sound, Adam.
Can't hear him.
Is it? Can't hear me. Okay.
A little better now. You might want to speak up.
I can't really speak up. Sat in the airport, guys. So I'm just about to fly in a bit, but the show ended, so I just kind of needed something to listen to.
Yeah, I got you. So just so you know, we'll square it away. Been a rough one the past few days.
Got your live show today, though? Yeah?
Yeah, I still have a live show today. Yeah.
That's good, because I wouldn't want to be
What's
a
the
liar
topic?
plugging it when it isn't going to happen. Outrageous.
Yeah.
What's the topic today, QE?
Ken Ham, he's going to get fried. Well, he fries himself.
Awesome.
You say Ken Ham?
Yeah.
There's got to be some pork jokes in there.
Fried ham?
Yeah. Well,
Ken
he
Ham
fries
has his
himself.
bacon fried.
Who the hell is Ken Ham?
Chairman and CEO of Answers in Genesis.
Oh.
Slap ham.
A bit of a porker.
Give it a pork sword, mate.
He's nothing like Dell.
I got a bolt, so I'll see you guys on the show if you can make it. All right.
What do you mean?
Okay.
See you, QE.
Outrageous.
Here's QE.
Why are you all thanking him?
Outrageous. I've never
running away.
known my entire thing.
We can't hear Nathan. Sorry, Nathan. Go on.
I was just moaning. Saying, why are you all thanking me while he runs away?
He's not happy about something. Whatever accident happened, he's obviously not happy.
What accident?
He had an accident of some, I don't know what it is, but he said it there. He said he had an accident past few days, whatever it was. Could be something at the house, or I don't know. Could have got injured. I don't know, but there was an accident happened, and
maybe
it's after taking up his.
maybe he pissed himself.
I think he accidentally forgot the meaning of the word empirical.
Did you say he accidentally forgot the meaning of the word empirical, Adam?
Could have done. It's a very busy.
Just for my audience's benefit, there's a suggestion from QE that empirical only means validated by science, and Adam completely fundamentally disagrees and saying, no, you can be empirically validated and proven without being, or as a result of the scientific method, without being as a result of the scientific method, is Adam's position. That is to say, there is empiricism beyond the scientific method. That's Adam's position. QE's position, it's only empirical if it's been through the scientific method. It's part of the definition, according to QE. And he does have citations for that.
Still wrong.
He's still wrong. I mean, that's debatable, quite literally and figuratively.
Is another example.
I don't know. I listened to the argument. I thought it was fascinating. It's good. It's good listening to big brains fight.
Right. What was the other example of empirical?
What does empirical mean to you, isn't it? If it means science, then why use the word within science? Just have some other nuance. Words for what does empirical mean? If I know this, have I taken empirical data? Have I done science?
That is the sound of 14% intelligibility, ladies and gentlemen. 14%. Like all statistics, I just made up that number. It might have been 15%. I don't know. I'd have to check. The rubbish free airport Wi-Fi, that is all. That's what I'm blaming.
Interesting, it's the headphones.
Just because you've robbed the headphones from the aeroplane. Those are rubbish headphones. You don't want those.
It's because the research ones have had
That's the satellite out of reach.
Yeah, you're going to be rumpus, Adam. That's just the way it is. Go on, Guns.
Oh, it's nothing. I just said the satellite was out of position. Couldn't pick up his cell.
What's the deal with satellites? Do we even have them? Are they real? They claim to be in a sky vacuum. I'm being serious. I'm asking. I'm not being facetious either. I'm just asking, right? I'm in a room where I can...
Well, they do have high...
Go on.
They have balloons. High altitude balloons.
Yeah,
they launch hundreds a day.
I'm pretty certain of the balloons, right? Just...
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the tin cans.
Yeah, satellite balloons. Yeah, they hundreds of them. They crash. Oh, I don't know. Not the tin cans. There's no such thing. Like there's no space, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
There's no. They can't.
If there's no place for them
there's
to
high
be.
altitude balloons. Yeah, I know. Yeah. They crash all the time, and you see the sophisticated instruments they have on these balloons. Those are the satellites. They go up to about 100,000 feet or something like that.
Okay, and that's it. It's just the balloons.
And they're satelloons. That's what they're called, right? We call them satelloons. And farmers are finding them. Everybody, they find them crashed on their land all the time. Millions of dollars worth of equipment. They crash all the time to the earth. That's why they have to keep launching them. What a waste of money, you know.
That's what Roswell was, wasn't it? That's all Roswell was.
A balloon, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a balloon. And then when they're describing the material, they're like it's metal, but it's like malleable and stretchable. You're like what, like Mylar?
Yeah, they said you squish it up into a ball, and then it just goes back to its original shape or whatever.
Describing the material the balloon would be made of, aren't they? Really, that's all it is. That's all Roswell was. Just they found a balloon.
Well, Yeah, I think the saucer thing, when that came out, that was an accident. I don't know. I don't know what the motives were there. Didn't make sense. Why would they even lie about that? Like, you know what I mean?
Same reason. Well, it's exactly the same. Well, don't leave it rhetorical. There is a reason. If you can suggest that some craft you've created is actually from the origins of off-world technology,
yeah,
then you've got in the mind's eye of the audience that there's a hush-hush example that's got off-world technology. Therefore, off-world technology exists. But all you're questioning is whether or not the thing was found, not whether or not the speculation of there being off-world technology for it to potentially exist. That's a given in this scenario, isn't it?
That's a good point. Yeah, good point. But I think the whole idea was to keep the space fantasy in people's minds as well, like aliens.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
And then they did. Yeah, exactly. And then they stop the story and they say, "Oh, it was a balloon or whatever." Then, like you said, it starts the conspiracy, right? And people thinking, "Oh, geez, the government's lying. There must be really aliens." Oy.
Yeah, it's that's how the best magic tricks work, right? So you don't look at what the right hand's doing while the left hand's waving a handkerchief. In this case, right, if you take the Superman example, you want the question to not be about the backdrop of the Earth as a sphere when Superman flies around it and makes it spin in the opposite direction to turn back time. Your suspension of disbelief should only be limited to the idea that Superman can turn back time by spinning around the ball or flying around it. And you go, I will suspend disbelief that Superman can turn the planet the wrong way round for the sake of watching Superman.
Yeah.
But the layer of, well, is there a ball at all, is just a given.
Yeah, exactly. It's a given. Like the ball is a given. That's why Baltinians are like, we were all the same way. We all thought that everything was.
This has nothing to do with Balchinians, right? This what's with this Men in Black reference?
I don't know. I came up with that a couple of years back. It's just because it sounds like you got ball, right? Earth is a ball in their mind, and then Balchinian, so it's almost like a slang or a. You can visualize the guy with the testicles for a chin. And that's a
Making me
Balchinian.
laugh every time I hear it. So.
Like, delusional Balchinian, baller.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I better stop that. That's not very nice.
I know, I quite like it. It's grotesque and sexual all at the same time. I love it.
I always get a lot of people always laugh at the comment, like in the comment section. If I say Balchinian, there's like, LOL, LOL. It's like, I know Chocolate likes it. Hey, Chocolate.
Saying nothing.
I like it. I actually might steal that a couple times.
Oh, it fits the topic perfectly, And ballers hate it when you call them that. Oh, if you call them a Balchinian, there's like, what? I've never. The devil it is.
Guys, I think there's a Spaceballs 2 coming out.
No.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure from what I saw that Spaceballs 2
is Mel Brooks still alive?
I was just about to ask the exact same question. Is Mel Brooks still alive?
Yeah.
Well, his son, Herb Brooks is alive. His son. Yeah.
Yogurt is still fermented.
May the Schwartz be with you all.
Yeah, the vacuum cleaner that the nurse or the maid uses will be a 10 to the negative 18 torr.
Suck.
Hey, you guys.
She's gone from
you
suck
guys,
to
there's
blow.
one thing I wanted to mention here. I was going to say this the other day. Ryan Reynolds was here in Regina, made a movie back in like 2004 or 5. It's called Just Friends. Okay, and it was like 40 below zero when they filmed it here, and it was supposed to be taking place in New Jersey, right? New Jersey. So anyway, what happened is one scene, he's walking out to his car it's really cold, and he's just got a sweater on. He's walking his car, and he goes, "Oh man, it's as cold as the South Pole, if there was one." He says that just like that. If there was one.
Yeah, he does that in. He
It's
does
in the
that in.
movie.
There's a flat Earth reference in. What was the most recent Deadpool? Is it Deadpool 3 or 2?
Yeah,
Wolverine. Deadpool
But
Wolverine.
no, it wasn't the most recent one. It was the one before that.
Is it in the second one where he references the black blind woman as being a weird flat earther or baller? I think he calls her.
Around there.
Round earther.
yeah.
That's it. You got there first. Yeah,
Yeah.
he calls the black
Yeah.
old woman that looks after him a round earther.
Yeah. Don't you find that odd though? Just out of the blue, one line he says that. It's colder than the South Pole, if there was one. He says it just like that. That was like back in 07. Yeah. It's called Just Friends. It's a really funny movie with Ryan Reynolds and the girl from Scary Movies.
I suspect he's flatty. Ryan Reynolds, that is.
Well, he's from BC. I think he's from British Columbia. I'm not sure if he's a flatty though. He knows. Obviously, he's a celebrity, right? A lot of celebrities, they're privy to certain information, right? That's what, as far as I know, because I got connection. Not me, but I mean my cousins.
The friend of the friend. Yeah, we know.
You know what's funny?
Yeah, so you know what I mean. It's a lot of them know, like and then when these sports figures come out and say the Earth is flat, I think they're directed to say that to cause this. It's almost like a reverse controversy to, you know what I mean? To mock us, mock flat Earth even more, even though they know it probably is flat. But it's sort of like slap us in the face mockery, reverse psychology or
What, have
something.
some
Don't you think?
meathead athlete say it rather than somebody educated? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Like a meathead, it sounds so stupid. Like, oh my God, those guys get 10 million a year and they're saying this shit. They're so stupid, uneducated, blue chips.
What's
They didn't
interesting is that
pass
the
college.
guys.
An athlete. Yeah. There's a lot more going on. Like I said, the celebrities and it's just we're a joke to them. We're actually the enemy. Plus, we're a joke. We're
Well,
we're the whipping boy.
we let a lot of years go by and not address the fact that most people are round earthers, flat earthers included.
Round earthers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they call it round earthers now, not globe earthers or ball earthers.
No, but flat earthers are most flat earthers, the most quote unquote flat earth flat earth believers are round earthers too.
Oh, you mean round and flat, like azimuthal equidistant round earther, that sort of thing?
Yeah, the disc.
Mm-hmm. And we went many years without even addressing it.
Speak for yourself.
They know they got our number. They know they got us beat. And like if we're talking about awareness numbers.
I don't know. I've been moaning about the azimuthal equidistant projection for the longest of times. Moaning about other flat earthers. It's been a consistent theme for me. And I know you're not necessarily directing this to me, Eli, but I mean, let's put it another way. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So do I. I don't subscribe to any map. I don't know if the Earth is round like a pizza. I don't know that. Why would I assert that? That's crazy.
Why would it be necessary to know the entirety of Earth's shape to ascertain an aspect of its surface?
It wouldn't unless somebody was telling you exactly what the surface and all that entails is, right?
It's the next failsafe. If you can get a flatty who knows it's flat to ascribe himself to some bullshit model, then you can find fault with that model, regardless of its globe Earth or flat Earth in reality origins. If they're ascribed to it, you can show it is wrong, therefore they are wrong, therefore Earth isn't flat.
Yep.
Who was it earlier that was saying it's not our fault? Was it Brian that was saying that?
Yeah. My phone was off. Our fault or what?
Earth needs to be measured flat. That's not our fault when the ballers require it to be measured flat, but they want it to be somehow our fault. That was Brian's sentiment earlier. Couldn't agree with it more.
Oh, yeah. I
I
don't know.
had such an amazing conversation.
Absolutely, man. It was one of the best.
Had such an
Best shows in a
amazing
while.
conversation. Are you co-signing me? Yeah, because I was in 24/7 early this morning, so I don't know who was there. And I should probably clip it, but I'm probably not. I'm super lazy. I had a conversation with Matthew Learns and another kid, man, and I was whipping them so hard. And the thing that I talk about is the trigonometry that goes into plane landing and plane takeoff. It's undefeated. They've not addressed it up until this point. So Matthew tries to address it or does address it this morning, except he introduces a completely non sequitur. So I'm talking about how the adjacent is a distance across the earth from the ground position to control. And so if you're on a curved surface, then the altitude is going to be different. So the arc length is going to be different, and all of the different or not. You're not doing anything with the curved surface. It's the adjacent is flat. They're using pure trigonometry. That's what it is. You know what Matthew says? That it's 75 miles plus 12 feet, which makes absolutely no sense as a statement when you think about the context, because he's talking about, I don't know exactly, I'm not the math buff, but whatever he did to come to the conclusion that it would be only an extra 12 feet totally ignores the fact that on that adjacent, if you're on a globe Earth, then you don't have the same altitude. You don't have an altitude, first and foremost.
Yeah, Matthew Lawrence is bullshitting. It's going to be, you see, what they need is for the airlines to be accounting for the claimed altitude they're at, right? Let's say it's 37,000 feet, and the drop that had to be added to that at the end of that adjacent.
Yeah, he did. See, he didn't do that. You would have to do something like that at best. He didn't do that at all. He did something that had to do with the percentage of how much. What did he do? Something to do with. I wish I was good at math, right? But whatever he did, he just added the. Is anyone in here from this morning?
What he tried to do was curve the adjacent. I know what he's trying to do. You cannot do it over a curved surface with the adjacent orientated towards the earth, towards the surface. The only way they can do it is with the adjacent orientated towards the sky, and them including the amount of drop. And that means that the distance that they must start for their top of descent for, the distance will be completely different than what it is in reality. They have no way out of it. You've seen my video.
No, I get what he did. That I can state it more clearly. What he did was add 12 feet to the distance on the adjacent. How the heck did you do that as a math professor? You get what I'm saying? His conclusion was to add 12 feet to the 75 miles, which has nothing to do with the fact that whatever altitude the plane is above the ground position, if the earth were curved, it would obviously be a much greater, you can't even call it an altitude, but whatever that would be, the angle would be different. It wouldn't even be, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I can't even formulate it into words.
Basically, he's still, that's 12 feet of what? That's why it's still going to be extra adjacent. Even what he's trying to do, he can't make it work. because it doesn't. Reality does not adhere. The descent of an aircraft from what's known as top of descent, right, does not adhere in any way, shape, or form to a globe arc. Nothing to do with flight does. But just that alone, just that one thing alone, ends the whole globe. You don't even need a pitch that, you don't need that, just that. They can't deal with it.
Yeah. Elijah, I know what you're talking about, because everything, all I've heard of descriptions of shape, distance, motion, everything is on a Cartesian plane. That's how we describe everything, is with respect to a Cartesian plane. To try to bend that destroys any lexicon you've tried to build up to that point. It invalidates geometry. Really? Is that what we're going to go for?
But see, the crazy thing though is that's what I'm saying. Like if I knew how like to articulate it in the mathematical expression, he didn't curve the adjacent. That's the thing. So whatever he did, he assumed that it was a globe already, and then did the calculations for how much more distance in the from I think along the obtuse there would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he's completely denying the drop. There has to be there.
Yeah, he didn't. That's what I'm saying. He's not addressing the point at all, because he's not. Brian, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, ask him to give you the mathematics, and we'll go through his mathematics live. That'd be the easy, or as a separate show. Like we'd absolutely annihilate it, because he's just not addressing the drop that he has to address. Simple
right,
as.
but back to the other point about I don't even know how to say it, right? Like what does drop mean? When they say drop, what do they mean?
That's why it's hard for me to talk, because it's like I can't even, because it doesn't mean anything on a ball. Like the language is bad. Like I can say, okay, the altitude from the ground position to the plane is this, but once you curve the adjacent, you can't even say that. There's no language for whatever the concept of there's no language for that.
The closest I've been able to translate it is the drop from level to level. Make sense of that.
Yeah, Sean, but I understand your argument, but it's a bit of a red herring away from what the point is. Bizarre and all that is to say, because you're bringing in a separate thing. The point is that it's not for us to address the drop and whether it's a vertical or it's for them to address the drop that would have to be there below what would have to be basically a tangent for them. They have to address more than the 37,000 feet of altitude. They have to address that and the amount of curvature, drop due to curvature from what would be a tangent below the airplane. That's below the point that the airplane is above that 37,000 feet. So that's their business to address.
At best, they would have to have the 37,000 feet plus whatever. No, wait. Isn't the 37,000 feet the drop? There would be between a level line and the curve of the earth. Isn't that the 37,000 feet?
No, the 37,000 feet would be the altitude of the plane. And if you're 37,000 feet and the airport is close to sea level, then you always want to end up 1,000 foot above the airport. So you would do the calculation for 36,000 feet, right?
Oh, my mistake. It was if you're traveling 75 miles out, and I think it was 40 feet in the air or something like that, then there would be 30 something 100 feet of drop. I think is what it was.
So level would drop from level how much in that amount of distance?
By 30 something hundred feet.
Did you hear the question?
I don't think he did.
I did level from level.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense to even. What does that mean?
It's not
Absolutely not.
pointing out the fact it doesn't make sense, that one, because that's easy. What Brian's highlighted is this has got to go in the book, by the way, Nick, and I've got the basics on this, but for all pilot training, this point of descent, whether you're 100 miles out, 200 miles out, is based on your altitude, your cruising speed, and the height above sea level that the airport is at for you to do a calculation. The calculation they do all requires a flat baseline, not some ground that's falling away. So your rate of descent is calculated on your altitude, height above sea level at that time, your distance from the airport. So you draw a nice, smooth hypotenuse where the rate of descent, the gradient, is exactly the same. That's how the aviation calculation is done.
Yeah.
That's gold.
There is no Go ahead, Neil.
There is no what?
Neil,
there is no instruments on an airplane in the cockpit that shows that the pilot is what do you call it? Accounting for curvature. There is no instrumentation at all. So it's all just gibberish.
Yeah, but that's a red
Right,
herring
Brian?
away from the point again, even though that's true. Even though that is true, that's a red herring away from the point. Stick to the point. The point is that there are certain things they must do to descend in to get to a position of landing for that airplane. Right? What they must do requires the Earth to be flat and does not fit a globe. That's all that's important right now. Not 50 million
Right,
red
that's
herrings.
what I'm trying to say. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say is that they, in their mind, when they're trained as a flat stationary Earth. They're trained that, but in subliminally, they think it's a curvature. Like in most cases, right? Subliminally, they think it's curving, but they're actually being trained that it's static and level.
Could we
right?
please stick to what we're talking about, that specific topic, instead of going into how they're trained and what they do? We don't need to go into all that right now. All that matters is the calculation that's being used, not some attempt to red herring away from it.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. Because that's the important part. What they actually do, as Adam just pointed out, it's what they actually do. And what they actually do can only work if the Earth is flat. It's simple as. The best I've gotten is some bozo on the Globe side trying to present me FAA documents that contradict it. That where there's one calculation in there where he thinks it's the descent calculation and they have supposed Earth curvature involved, and then they show the actual descent calculation later in the document, and it is even with a diagram. It's one of the only times in the document they have a diagram. And the diagram is a triangle. They're not accounting for anything more than their actual attitude. That's impossible on a globe Earth. Impossible. Unless you have do the whole calculation way around. And all I'm getting back is bullshit off of the borders. And I don't want to know about red herrings. I don't care if it's level, no offense, if it's level from level. Don't care about how they train the pilots. None of that matters. We're talking about this specific point that Eli brought up and Adam detailed.
It is totally devastating, this, if you look at the calculation that pilots have to do. Now, if you were 75 miles from the airport or 100 miles from the airport and were on a ball, the altitude that you would have to mitigate for would be different based on you just being at 35,000 feet. So when you've traveled 75 linear miles, you will accumulate altitude because apparently the ground is curving beneath you away. So you accumulate additional altitude. This is the point that's the killer for the real world pilots with lives that they're in custodian of do not adjust for any rate of change of fall of the ground. Their calculation assumes that the Earth remains level and flat, and their calculation for descent rate, how many feet to drop per kilometer or mile, is basically the gradient of a right-angled triangle. So the descent path of the plane is the hypotenuse. That's devastating to any maths nerd. It's not in there.
I'm pretty sure that the meaning of the word drop is not a red herring to the topic we're discussing. Unless you can detail what a red herring is and show how that's a red herring.
The reason I call it a red herring, even if it may be not specifically correct to call it a red herring, is it takes away from the actual point that's being made. Because people then start talking about what drop means, instead of focusing on the fact that what these pilots are doing in reality, right, and how they must do it, and how they officially do it, and how they're trained to do it, can only work if the Earth is flat. Yes, we know what drop means, right? Drop is a vertical thing. I understand that. And vertical doesn't exist on the globe. That's understood. And I'm not saying it's not a good point. It's just this is not the time for it. If you understand what I mean.
It is the time for it when Elijah's saying, I can't even put these concepts together to make them work on a ball. And I'm pointing out to him why he can't. So it's not a red herring at all.
It's not a red herring, but it's
Don't do that.
disappointing. It's disappointing, isn't it? That after being, somebody lays down 4 aces, you want to discuss how you've got a running flush. And that's lovely, you're running flush, and in most cases it could win, and it probably will win this hand. But it's whatever, yeah, a crapper hand. You just played the best hand ever.
No, straight flush
Albeit.
is the best hand.
A straight royal flush.
You're
missing the point.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. You order the cards however you want. The point I'm making is you've just played the best hand. Don't go back to a crappier hand. Even if that crappier hand still wins, you just played your best hand. It's devastating what I've just shared with you. Devastating, because people in the real world, qualified, trained pilots, do the calculation like this.
So the relevancy of Elijah pointing out that he's not capable of making these concepts make sense when he's trying to discuss them with someone because he knows what they mean isn't relevant to him saying that.
It's not a red herring to what Elijah said. Your response to what Elijah said was fine. But to push it after that is taken away from, it's like removing one of the cards from the best hand that you have on the table and putting in a card that's not as good when it's not necessary to do it. You could say, I also have this card later on, but
no,
it's an add-on.
That's not what happened.
Yeah, but
that's not what
it becomes
happened.
a red herring.
I was talking to Elijah in a point that he made, and then you addressed it by saying it was a red herring. That doesn't make sense. I don't know why you have such aggression to that point. But
by the way, guys, I found the video and the times. Well, I'm close to the timestamp. I found where I am in the conversation. So if you guys want to play it back, 4 more hours.
That'll give it clarity.
Well, we kind of know
what we were saying there.
Go on.
Just asking, because I'm no that's a grind. I'm just saying sometimes you are presented with a certain set of cards to land, and when they gift you something as simple as that, a flight descent calculation, yeah, you take it. You don't make another point because that's fundamentally the point you're about to make is devastating to any nerd. Don't know. I look at those numbers and that's me smiling You guys might go, oh, I don't like maths. So you don't see how powerful it is. It is the most powerful argument. In the real world, we do not account for it. Otherwise, what? Otherwise, you'd be landing in midair or crashing into a mountain. But in the real world, pilots who all think it's still a ball, well, they don't mitigate for the ball in their calculations. They treat it as flat, whatever distance, whatever implication that would have by any effect of presupposed curvature, they don't deal with it. It's devastating in the real world. It is the biggest killer. And if you can get to that point, don't worry about any inconsequential point before that. You've got 4 aces. Just play them and move on from describing your running flush.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. But if someone asks a question and I state to him the reason, it's not responsible to make it seem like my point's invalid because I'm stating the reason for the conceptualization being difficult. That it's nonsense.
Your point's not invalid.
Well, okay.
My point was not even.
What's your point, John? Because I don't even know what's going on.
It's still a winning hand, isn't it? It's still a winning hand, John. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, don't trade it in for one that was better.
I ain't trying to win nothing.
Once you've got to that
I ain't
point.
trying to win nothing. I'm trying to win nothing, Adam. Why do you keep saying that? You keep on comparing it to poker. I'm just saying that Elijah made a statement of confusion, and I clarified to him why he was making that statement. That's all I did. But y'all want to make it seem like I'm making an argument or taking away from a point. It's weird to me at this point.
Well, I'll be honest with you, John.
Well, I mean, I take what he's saying to mean that I guess we're talking about the level to level comment, and it did touch on the very thing that I was touching on, that Matthew learns was. So I don't know what the problem is. The fact that I can't say, well, you have the ground position and the altitude, but if you were to curve that, then the altitude would then be, and then I stop myself because I can't say that because that doesn't make any sense. And John is agreeing with that. There's no problem there.
Yeah, but it is, Eli, is that John was saying the reason that you can't describe it is because you have to use descriptors just do not fit their paradigm. Yet you're trying to describe what you're trying to describe in their paradigm. The point me and Adam were making is when that happens, whether it's John does it or Nathan does it, because John and Nathan are two biggest culprits of this, you take away from the point. We don't have to describe what's going on in their paradigm. We just need to describe reality. If their paradigm doesn't fit that, then that's not our problem. We don't have to, I understand to make the point, I've got to reference a drop that they have to account for. Right? I have to reference that because I have no other way of describing it, even though technically it doesn't fit with what they're trying to claim, right? As a paradigm, geometrically. I understand that. But to get the point across to an audience and to make the argument, I don't want to add in confusion or bring away from it by talking about how drop doesn't fit their paradigm geometrically. I have to just make the point of what's actually happening and what would have to happen if the Earth was a globe. That's what I have to do. And unfortunately, sometimes you do have to use descriptions that geometrically don't fit their paradigm. But that's because they're the descriptions we have. We don't have any other ones. The reason we don't have any other ones is because we're living on a horizontal plane of reference. So John's point is correct. It's just that it takes away slightly when that stuff happens. It takes away a little bit from, even though he was right to point it out to you. When you said a couple of times, so it's drop off from level to level. At that point, someone's going to jump on that and want to talk about that, and then we're not talking about what they're doing in an airplane.
Right.
I see
but when I'm talking to Elijah, for you to get upset about it, for you to get upset about it when I'm talking to Elijah specifically about a point he's making, is to try to turn what I'm saying into somehow being detrimental.
But that's
And
what
I don't like
that's what
that.
this conversation doing. But that's what this conversation is doing. Because I understand what Brian is saying, potentially in 1,000 different ways. If someone was listening into the conversation we were having, then at that point they could latch on to that and it would be 15 minutes worth of blah, blah, blah. In my mind, though, that's what this has been. About 7 or so minutes of blah, blah, blah. I'm posting stuff in the chat. I'm posting timestamps. I'm trying to get the review of this live stream underway, and all you guys can do is talk about what happened 7 minutes ago.
Well, Nathan's got to play it. You got to tell Nathan to play it.
Well, no, I got to do that without the guys going back and forth.
What I'm confused about is how someone like Matthew Burns, who was clearly said, I think even on this show, that Earth is measured flat. I'm pretty sure I've heard him say that pilots don't account for curvature before. How does now he's fixing to do mathematics for drop that has to be accounted for while landing?
Well, I was actually talking to like some other Globers, and then he kind of got into it. It's a long discussion.
But you see what I'm saying, right? Like he's already made concessions clearly for years now.
Well, that's what he said yesterday. He said the result would be so minuscule, you wouldn't have to account for the Earth's curvature, which is why he told me that it would be just plus 12 feet. But that's the ignorance. That statement doesn't make any sense, because basically what he said, and I posted it in the matter of fact, it's posted in the chat. Use the chat to continue the show. Stop talking to each other.
You can't. Some of us are in an airport. You can't look at it.
All right, so I'll read it then. So this is what Matthew said.
Before you go on, because you kind of gave it a little bitchy little backstab, which I'm a bit confused and wasted 7 minutes of your time. Was it me that wasted 7 minutes of your time giving you the
it's not a waste of time. It's like when we bicker and then things fizzle out because we're not actually on a topic. Nathan is going to end the show. I actually have something for us to do to keep the conversation interesting versus bicker and then let the conversation fizzle out. That's what I want to do right now.
I'll let me carry on, because like I didn't think it was bickering. I thought it was providing the most powerful argument to the point that
you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong, first and foremost. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just trying to add context in a conversation where both Brian and John were going to get to a point that they weren't going to agree to disagree. Let's just skip all that and move on.
Thanks.
And John and Brian are argumentative. I'm with you, Eli. I'll take that and move on.
I just blamed Brian, actually.
Let me summarise, because that's not what I heard. I was coming in, jumping in, solely because Brian was doing what I was doing, which was to take it forward. And this is not an indictment to Refracted. He was defending your position, how you could work it with. And this is, I'd say, part of the critique that me and Brian and others have with regards to Nathan and some of the shortcuts. And it's not to say the shortcuts aren't valid, but they don't address and destroy the person that's come to. You can sit there smugly and smile about a way you've addressed that point, but it doesn't necessarily mean you win it to the argument, which is why I interceded and said, deal with it this way, and you win with both the audience and the person.
We're trying to win fallacious arguments at this point, guys. Like, is that really what we want to be doing?
What we really want to do is
we're making excuses. We're making excuses for this now, that we want to win an argument. Really? A statement of fact.
No, because you guys are having two different conversations. That's the problem. Like I don't hear you responding to what Adam just said. Because if I were you, I would have said, Adam, what are you talking about?
Adam, what were you talking about?
I wasn't actually arguing for what you just said I was arguing for, but you didn't say that. So this is what I'm saying. Y'all are having two different conversations. I really don't even care. Let's just get into it.
You should care.
No, I do care, but all I heard is him not hear what you said because he's
He
responding
just
to
wants to
something else.
review his. He just wants to review his debate.
Because if
So
he
hit
heard
play,
what you
Nathan.
said, in my opinion, it was a straw man. So if he heard what you said, he would have addressed that, but he didn't. He addressed something else. So I'm like, damn, if you can't even hear that, then there really is no point in having the discussion there.
The winning point was made. That was made as a statement. The winning point to a fallacious argument. Make it make sense for me.
Herring, though. You're going into the semantics of the argument. We don't need all that. It's very simple. We have
against what I'm trying to do or something. I'm like, how come we can't move forward?
We don't need all that. You have in aviation. We don't need to.
Is it just
Brian?
Say that again, Brian? That sounds a little is it just me?
It's no.
No, it's a little choppy.
Yeah, it's where I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. We don't need to go into this thing and that thing and the other thing. We have all we need. We don't need to critique the hell out of each other or point out 50 million things. We can point them out after we have succinctly, right, I can't say that word, right, pointed out what's really happening in reality in aviation as opposed to what some people are trying to claim is happening. That's what we need to focus on.
And I want us to focus on that while y'all are critiquing how I handled a conversation under our good name.
Nathan, hit play.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I'd have to drop Eli, so I'd come back in later and I'll listen back to it later. Sorry, everyone, I have to do this. Go on, Adam, I listened to you before I go. Go on.
Come on. Nathan, this is when you hit play.
Yeah, you got to appeal to the host, Eli.
You should have listened to Adam for a second. Adam was trying to say something.
Oh, sorry, Adam.
All right, let's start here. Look at his statement, right? So Matthew Learns responds to another guy, Rumham 729 there. You can't see his response, but he says, you can land a plane on a globe. Matthew says that's correct. The 75-mile baseline would only be 75 miles plus 12 feet on a curved Earth. Now, that statement, again, is saying, well, on a curved Earth, that would just actually be 87 miles. That statement makes
I'm
no
literally
sense.
in the airport right now, and I'm going to just go up to the pilot guy, and he looks like a gentleman that could answer this
I'm
question.
in the middle of a point, Adam. Does that have anything to do with what I'm saying? It only took me like 7 minutes to get to it.
We have an argument here about rate of descent calculation. Yeah.
Okay.
Navy. Yeah. Apologies. I thought I'd managed to color a pilot. It was the flight calculation. Damn. Still in the same. I said the angle of elevation as opposed to depression. That's ciao. Sorry, guys. I thought he's got gold on his collars. Yeah. I was going to ask him a question to resolve that, but yeah, sorry.
Just don't get
You need
arrested.
to
I
take
don't know,
Brian's
whatever you do.
challenge, Eli.
What did Matthew mean by be 87 miles?
He meant I'm measuring it flat.
I mean, no, my bad. 75 miles plus 12 feet.
He's saying I'm measuring the miles in a linear, flat Earth only way, but that's okay because if there was a difference, it wouldn't be much of a difference to the flat way I've measured it with linear miles. That's what he's actually saying.
precisely.
But all he actually said was it would be 75 miles plus 12 feet if the Earth were a globe. That doesn't make any sense.
Because it's all flat.
He made that up.
No, but aside from the fact, but listen to the statement. He's saying 75 miles plus 12 feet. What math? What question did you answer to give us the result that you're going to add 12 feet to the distance on the adjacent when the distance is already known?
What's he going to do? Add that 12 feet in a linear measurement for the linear miles that he's declaring?
That too.
Well, it doesn't matter what he adds on then, does he?
Measurements.
Still 12 miles in a linear flat measurement.
But you get, but it doesn't, it's not 12 miles. He's saying 7. Listen, the distance is already known. The known distance is required for the calculation that you're going to do.
Okay, so that's game over.
Right?
Well, that's the end of the... Yeah, but that's the end of the discussion. So in order to... What you're saying
how
is...
did he come up with a conclusion that adds 12 feet?
I'm telling you.
That has nothing to do with anything, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's non sequitur, but he's saying, in addition to the flat Earth prerequisite, linear miles, whatever they may be, if it was to be measured in a non-linear curving fashion, it would only be a difference of 12 feet that are also linear. That's what he's actually saying.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so he's saying, I do measure it flat. It is a flat linear distance, but even if it wasn't and was curved, then it would only be the extra 12 linear feet.
And that's the pitfall, gentlemen. Because that's where they want you to argue, isn't it? Argue the rest of the day over those 12 feet. No.
Well, Learns is just covering his ass, basically.
It isn't done like that. And then it's calculated on triangles. Yeah.
But
and
that's the point. That's the point.
That's it. Don't get
That's
into
that's the point I'm trying to point out. That's the point I'm trying to point out, Adam, because while he's trying to talk about 12 feet, I'm like, what's that got to do with if you're at control and you're saying that you live on a sphere and where the ground position would be is over 3,000 feet below your position in elevation. How are you even taking an elevation angle measurement to the plane? You're not.
Don't worry about those. Go back to the reality of the situation so that you know that when the pilot is figuring out whether he's going to hit the ground or land correctly, what he does.
Right, Adam, just hear me out for a second. You're in a public place with planes leaving the ground and stuff, so just be careful what you say, because people might be overhearing your conversation and take it the wrong way.
Allah Akbar.
True that.
It's probably not good to declare Allah Akbar either.
Yeah, maybe skip that one. So you guys want to get into the discussion and see how I fared? Now, mind you, it might not necessarily be about what we're talking about right now in the place that I found in the video.
Well, then no.
Well, it does begin with me talking to percentage about inches, yards, miles, etc. being linear distances.
Well, now we don't need to hear it.
Would you play the darn thing? Eli wants us to assess him. What's the problem?
Where is it?
He's in the middle of a victory royale, guys.
Nah, I'm not.
Give him a chance to finish.
I don't mind.
All right. I put the timestamp in there. I think I did.
It says it's a buoy in the ocean. And that's the only way that you can actually use those signals to find your location. You can do this yourself, right?
Exactly. There you go. Good answer.
Having said that, if those buoys in the ocean were GPS transmitters, It could be used as part of the location fix, but
30816.
your receiver would also say, hey, there's a...
Have you not timestamped it? What's the timestamp?
30816. I still don't know how to do that.
So
by the way.
Roger, that was an
Somebody-
anti-flat earther.
I'm not an anti-flat earther, just panel mode. I've been swinging with FED for like the last probably 6 years at least.
Not in a natural situation, you can't.
And it's the fault. That's
you're going
no. So,
waiting for an
I'd
inch.
Go ahead.
An inch.
Eli, you're cutting in and out, bro, and your mic is scratchy to boot. So I don't know if it's your connection or something.
Well, I think he left.
An inch, a yard, a mile, a nautical mile. All of those would be flat distance measurements.
No, that's a bad answer, Eli. That's a bad answer.
It's a true statement. You mean it's a
No,
bad
it's not, man. Because you could measure distance and you have slope. You could have a hill that you're measuring with a yard or a mile or whatever. There's topography, so that's a bad answer.
I didn't say that though. I'm not talking about.
You said every distance measurement using these units of measurement is measuring a level Earth.
Slope though.
Oh, you literally said that. You said it's measuring a level Earth. Every one of these, and I'm saying, you know, that's a bad answer.
Yeah, you can.
Go on, who's off mute in G+?
That was me. Sorry, that was talking to you. Saying at the same time, you warned me for that behaviour, saying how good God is. My wife punched me in the ribs at the same time.
Ken, you could be at the salt flats doing it inch, yard. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you could be anywhere else and using an inch and yard, and it's not. It's a bad answer, man.
What are you talking about?
It's all right. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm rebutting what you're saying. There are very large distances, even on the terrain, that you can, in an inch, in a yard, I'm pretty sure, you can measure with no slopes. And like I said, a mile, a yard, an inch, a nautical mile, those are all linear distances regardless. Which part of anything I said is not true? Right.
It's a tough listen, Eli.
I did get a few long protracted silences. It's gonna kick in the high gear, don't worry. Especially when the other guy comes in.
The silence is deafening, though.
Percentage
Because what I was just talking about, I was getting into landing and ascension of the plane. So he was talking completely out of context. So I wasn't really even trying to deal with him at this point. I was talking to someone else,
Man, but you're hot
and he was
micing, bro.
trying to throw it off. Like he always does with his Glober self.
So like the censor's still doing the same old two stuff.
Yeah, but the whole thing is right there where you said inch, mile, whatever you're going to use is a linear distance. That is a statement of fact. That's why you
exactly
profound silence. You cannot rebut that.
That's why his response is, "Oh, that's a bad answer." It's just maybe because you don't like the answer. This doesn't make it a bad answer. You just don't like it, but it's true. Hence,
Did he
the
say that?
Yes.
Oh,
So
I
that's
didn't
a
hear
bad
that. I'm
answer.
just hearing like clicking.
Yeah, that's why Eli say, "How? What did I say that was wrong?" they're all linear distances. What do you mean? It's a bad answer.
Somebody off mute.
Too, if the Earth is a globe or not. So we did get some concessions out of him for that. He just got upset towards the end. He wanted to be right.
Oh, well. And if there's a lull, you could skip 5 minutes. It's not going to hurt the conversation. It was pretty lengthy.
It's just hard to get used to Big Daddy Flurf, man. I'm telling you. I love the name, though. It's nice.
Roger, that's a name I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, go ahead and skip like 5 minutes.
What up, Eli?
Hey, D-Rose.
He just got upset towards the end. He wanted to be right.
Jackson's, I think linear distance is measured flat, right?
Yeah, they're flat. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I guess they have that caveat that because the Earth is curved, there's some extra things to consider. But again, when taking into account 75 miles when it comes to landing or taking off in a plane, there are none of these considerations. So you're a liar. Shut your filthy mouth. I'm not speaking to anybody in particular.
So I'm going to guess nobody's taken up. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, nobody's taken Brian's challenge up to land a plane with his coordinate systems that he put out there for people.
Probably not.
No, I didn't think so neither.
Like nobody even touches that point when I say it. Last person that did try to touch it said that there was like curvature on the runway. And that's like for like rain, like runoff and shit. So
Really? That's curvature? All right, okay.
Yep, that's where they're at. That is where they're at.
Did I
Don't
just hear
forget, you
somebody talk
refuse to
about
touch
Brian's challenge?
the question of how you measure it flat.
Yep. We just talked about it.
Oh, did I miss that?
Interesting.
I guess here's the little character here. Here we go. A mile is a measure of a flat distance of a portion of the Earth, which is also flat.
Oh, yeah. You were saying that before. And you were saying like any mile, any inch, any yard, all this good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, I did include the nautical mile, but that's actually different because that comes from angles, which then somehow they turn into linear distance on the ground. So,
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, so if I measured the distance around a basketball, let's say, in inches.
No, you weren't.
Or even
you
in
said somehow they
centimeters.
turn into linear distance on the ground. You measure an angle on a flat plane, and that angle, as it corresponds to the elevation angle in a right angle triangle, is a distance along the ground of an adjacent.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you never leave the flat Earth for that.
Okay.
That wouldn't be flat, though, right?
Well, it wouldn't be a linear distance measurement. Like, say,
it wouldn't be.
Eli, you're so confused right now, man. Come on, like.
No, because you're actually putting like a tape measure around something that you were.
Who's this percent wanker? So he's opened his freaking mic, said you're wrong, and then what? I'll just leave my mic open with nothing to say other than you're wrong.
Knowing is round.
Eli, you're confused.
Your point
Every
was
distance measurement is a linear measurement.
Yeah, that's first of all. Yes.
Nautical mile is a linear measurement.
Okay, now.
You think linear means a line? That's not what it means. It means length.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
No,
man.
linear just means between 2 points.
Well, he's gonna get muted because we're gonna go jump off from that. It is a straight line.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I measure in inches,
we're gonna go here. We're gonna go here first. We're gonna go here first, so that we can refute what he just said.
Sure.
And
what
then
are we
we're
refuting?
gonna, we're gonna deal with the point where I talked about it being parallel to the Earth. So we're talking about a straight line distance parallel to the Earth. Now, some would claim that that wouldn't be the case because the Earth is not, because the Earth is a globe. But like I said, my argument about landing and taking off with airplanes refute that quite handily. So
The definition parallel to anything can't be applicable to a curved surface.
You can have concentric to a curved surface,
exactly,
not parallel.
Exactly.
Say the last bit again, Adam.
So you can have concentric to a circular surface or curved surface, but what you can't have is parallel.
Okay.
My bad. What's up, everyone? I mean, just speak to Eli, but I ain't heard his voice in a while.
To the
What's
Earth.
up,
Now,
everybody?
some would claim that that wouldn't be the case because the Earth is not, because the Earth is a globe. But like I said, my argument about landing and taking off with airplanes refute that quite handily. So, a linear mile is a measure of distance, and while it can be visualized as a straight line, it is not necessarily parallel to the Earth's surface. So it is a straight line that wouldn't be parallel to the Earth's surface. That's what it is. I'm not confused.
Well, yeah, no, that's the exact point we're making. We're making that you could measure a mile in many different directions, not necessarily parallel to the Earth's surface.
Yeah, okay, but except for when you're landing and taking off in planes, then the Earth's surface is considered as flat.
Okay, no, that's cool. That's fine. I can grant that for the sake of this conversation.
That's all I've been saying, but for the sake of the conversation.
For the sake of the conversation, you can agree. It's not agree, disagree. It's not a debate. It's not a questionable subject matter. What Eli stated is a statement of absolute fact, and the guys agreed for the sake of discussion. It's like, we don't need your frickin' agreement, you dumbass.
With that being true, you can't have 75 miles of flat, my friend, on an 8 inches per mile squared globe.
Well, either way, for the purpose of that conversation, that's what I'm saying. I could grant that, but that's not That's not what I was talking about. I was talking about
Same applies to you, Big Daddy Flurf, Eli. You need to mute, man, when he's talking. Can you hear the audio chaos you're causing?
Because what you introduced is a red herring. But I did that with what I was saying. It is flat. Now, with what you're talking about,
how do you measure it flat?
I just told you.
Yeah, what the hell? You've just conceded it for the sake of discussion, and I've called you a dumbass for it. And then you're what? Stick your head in the sand and go, well, how are you measuring it flat? Sorry, did the last 15 seconds not happen?
What you said was you measure it flat with a mile. That's what you said.
Yeah, that's correct, dumbass.
Yeah, but you would have to be doing something. For example, like taking off in an aeroplane.
Oh, so you can only measure the Earth flat by flying in an airplane?
This guy a fucking retard? This guy a fucking spastic? Has this guy dropped on his fucking head? What's this guy's name?
Yep, he did.
What's this guy's name? So I can insult him for being retarded?
That name seems good. Just call him retarded.
But you think that maps with their scales are only referenced by planes coming into land because the example being given to you to tie it to something specific is planes coming into land? when you question whether or not a fucking mile's linear with regards to a flat plane of reference for landing, as a specific example. Oh, well, you're saying that it's the only fucking way we measure Earth? No, you complete fucking retard. Who's off mute in G+, rumpusing this shit out of me like it's the fucking recording? Who's off mute? Can you hear me?
Sorry, that was me, and my phone.
Well, just go on mute. I'm listening to you and responding to you. I don't need your line open while I'm doing exactly what you've asked me to do. I'm responding. And why can I hear you in the middle of me responding? I don't know. Irritating, like it is in the recording irritating. This is just audio chaos. It's annoyed me. I don't like listening to this shit where there's nobody saying, shut your line, so I can hear the other guy talk. Nobody's doing that. So this is just audio chaos. Irritating on many levels. Meanwhile, while I'm actually responding to the guy who's conceded the bleeding point, asked for a specific example, and when it's delivered, he's like, is that specific example I've just asked for the only way we measure? Wanker. Just wanker. Go fuck yourself, you stupid retarded wanker, is what I'd have said to him at this point, Eli. People call me angry. Like, yeah, I'm angry because I'm dealing with complete dipshit, asshole wankers who play fucking dumb. And I'm tired of it. Did the thing you just concede to get forgotten about in 15 seconds because suddenly you're getting a hyper-specific example of how we measure the Earth flat for something that's life and death like landing a fucking plane? Suddenly that's the only example of measuring Earth according to this fucking retard. And you just want to slap them. Or you fucking retard, are you dense? You want to talk to them like that, so they know how fucking retarded they are. That's how I want to talk to this spastic. Are you a fucking retard? That's how I want to talk to him in this moment. I want to know the disdain I feel for this spacker and the retarded shit he just spewed at you, Eli. Sorry, the overflow's coming your way. It's not actually your fault.
I agree with you 1,050 million%, Nathan. It just gets to the point where you just want to pull out a Uzi and just go and just put him to sleep.
Yeah, you're giving him a generalization. Well, miles generally, obviously, we're going to be using this example of miles because you can use it in many different ways in many different measurements that we use them frequently. You know, it doesn't matter if it's planes, trains, automobiles, or a freaking plane. We're going to be using miles. It's quite general. Can you give me a specific example? Well, yeah, like coming into land. Are you saying the only way we can measure Earth? You're a spastic. Go fuck off, spastic. You're done talking to me now. You've lost your privileges to talk to me because you're a fucking retard. Now, do you want to grow a fucking brain back in the last 15 seconds, or do you want to go fuck yourself? Because those are now your choices. Grow your fucking brain back, or go fuck yourself. Retard. That's what this guy needs. That's how he needs to be spoken to. All of the globe-believing spastics that forget the fucking concession they made 15 seconds earlier because your hyper-specific example is suddenly the only example. Retards, spastics, dumb fucks. Yeah? What are you going to get when I talk to you like this? Oh, you're angry. Yeah, I'm angry because you're a spastic. You've made me angry, spastic.
Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what he's saying, you abject fucking retard. If he was saying it, he'd have said it. Like, oh no, this is the only way we measure Earth with fucking planes coming into... He didn't say that. You're a fucking wanker. I'm saying that. You're a wanker and a spastic. Dumb shit. Like you're dropped on your fucking head like Dan and all the rest of the spastics. Yeah? Like you don't fucking understand simple English when asking for a hyper-specific example of how we use miles. You're a fucking retard, man.
Driving in a car, but it would be...
Yeah, you hear that tone? Yeah, that's the disdain being packaged up nicely into sarcasm by Eli. No, like we can drive a car. Yeah, no, that's not the tone you'd have got from me. I'd have got really, really obtuse with you really quickly. Fucking spastic.
More practical to prove that the Earth is flat because if you're driving on the surface, I guess you could say, well, obviously there's topology and things you have to consider. Guess what? In a takeoff and a landing, guess what?
Is this same fucking retard now interrupting you, Eli? Oh, yeah, he is, isn't he? You're spastic. You're having it laid out for you because you're a fucking retard and didn't understand the first time and suddenly went dumb in the last 15 seconds after conceding the bleeding point with regards to the linear measurement that are known a mile. Yeah, you seem to be interrupting Eli now. It's because you're a wanker. You're not just fucking dumb as all shit dropped on your head spastic, also a wanker, now fucking chanting through your opponent who's made you look stupid.
Whatever. Guess what?
What?
In a takeoff and a landing, there's no consideration for that.
Right. So you're saying that I'm measuring the Earth is flat anytime I'm moving in a vehicle?
Yeah. That's what a mile is, you dumbass.
He's a dummy.
I just told you, specifically in the air, most definitely.
So by flying.
No, or on any mapped territory. Do you not see on a map a scale with kilometres or miles written on it? I mean, are these people thick as shit, or what? That's not rhetorical. I'm asking, are they just dumb as shit? Are these people actually spastics? Were they actually dropped on their fucking heads?
They're trying to find ways to either trigger you or to play dumb, like you said, because even in driving, if you're driving along the coast of the Pacific or the Atlantic and you're on the roads that have the variant altitude of highway from the mountains, but you're looking to your left or to your right, depending on what coast you are, the water doesn't go up and down with you. The water maintains the same level. And the only variant is that when you drive incline going up towards, the sea level may be different. It'll go higher, but that's because it's based against a reference of a flat plane of the sea level. So it's not like when you're driving up and down a hill, like that's what he's trying to conflate. He's trying to say when we're going up and down hills and we're going down and going up, that, he doesn't take consideration the topographical variant of the terrain.
No, that's not what they're doing. What they're doing with them, what they're asking Eli is that the only way you could measure is because they're constantly saying you can rapid tape measure around any spherical object, as big as it may be, and get a measurement.
That's not what a
like
mile
our
is.
Basketball.
No. That fundamentally denies the premise of what a mile is. When you look at that scale on a map, is that how people use maps? They go, you know what, I'm just going to find a fucking ball to wrap this map around. No, we don't, do we? When we use the scale on a map. Now, like I say, are these people fucking spastics? It's like they've never used a fucking map before.
I don't know if it's spastic. I don't know if it's spastic, but they're trying to deny what they already know. They know it's a linear distance, but they also need to deny that to make it ambiguous to believe it's a sphere further down the conversation. So that's what this part is the denial of what they know.
Yeah, we've got Eli saying, yeah, the way we deal with Earth is with miles, it's flat. That's Eli's side of the argument to make it as concise as possible. This guy saying, are you saying that when I measure a linear mile with respect to a flat surface that I might be parallel to, that I'm measuring Earth flat? Is that what you are saying? That's what he's currently putting to Eli.
That's what he conceded 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, precisely.
Maybe because they want, when you go around a hill, that's not linear, that's not a linear mile.
No, I think he might just have a head injury, like he was dropped on his fucking head, and now he's got some sort of short-term memory loss. Because what other explanation can I ascribe to it? He conceded it 60 seconds earlier. So either he was dropped on his fucking head and has got amnesia from 15 seconds earlier, and this is a recurring problem throughout his life, and I should say, I'm really sorry, I didn't realise that you had a cracked skull when you were younger, and me calling you a fucking spastic's a bit of a low blow. Yeah, you have actually been dropped on your fucking head. That has actually happened. Hence you forgetting something you conceded to 15 fucking seconds earlier. No, this guy's just a retard because he's got a blinding faith in a ball that blinds him to the shit he conceded only seconds earlier.
All I do remember, I wish I knew the cartographer or the was it a merchant seaman or a longshoreman, but they were like the ones that navigate for the ships. But I remember he said when we work on maps, it's almost like the way we look, the way we look at maps, the way we map it is as if we're the creator looking down upon the earth. And when he said that, it was like, I kind of looked at it like the way you see maps on the wall in the classroom, vertical against the wall. It's like almost kind of like giving that childhood perspective of it on the globe. But maps are laid down on the table. And even if they are up vertical, they still read in that same manner, but it's of an altitude looking downward to measure linear miles. And what they did is they, like you said, they kind of they convoluted it by using it like we always make a mistake and we go, I see you down south. Oh, I'll be up in New York. So all of these things I think kind of have them, not this guy, not skull fracture dude, but a lot of them have this thought by the way they've grown up and seen the maps that they're thinking in that way subconsciously and subconsciously. But like that cartographer said, he said, a map is drawn as if you're the almighty creator looking down upon the plane. And that
It's north, south, east, and west.
Yeah, and it's just the spread. It's not a up and down, it's just a spread, a directional spread. But looking downward, I don't know, it's hard to explain. When he said that, that kind of made me like, whoa. And this was like a 1700 or 1800 cartographer. God, I wish I knew his name. Damn.
In the air is how you measure the Earth is flat.
All right, I'm going to ask you this way.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
You're going to understand really fast. In landing and flying a plane, basic trigonometry is involved, where you have a right triangle where the adjacent is flat. Now, in that scenario, when you're flying the plane, your level is parallel to the surface of the Earth. For 75 miles, that is a measure of flat.
In all cases?
In the case that I just laid out, do you agree or disagree?
I'm not sure.
About what?
It's not agree, disagree subject matter, though, is it? When you're describing descending through elevations that are described off sea level. Those are the facts in the matter. I don't know why you were invited by Eli, no offence to Eli, but you've invited him to disagree when it's not an agree-disagree situation.
Yeah, you should have said, do you comprehend what I've just told you?
Do you understand
what
would be a better...
What you just told him was fact.
Yeah, it's not do you agree, it's do you understand. Anyway, I'm going to round out on that note. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, wrong button, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video. Right button this time.